Hey everyone, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by critiquing past players. I am one of your three co-hosts, Derek Kubicek, and today we are going to be looking at the post-merge of Season 34 of Survivor, Game Changers. Today I am joined by two fabulous co-hosts, Ryan Stacy and Josh Wessler. In this case, they may be more fabulous than the season on the whole, but we'll get into that. How are you guys doing?
No, confirmed we're more fabulous than the season on the whole. Confirmed.
I'm not very fabulous, so
And
up for
yet,
debate.
and yet, you're still above Game Changers. No, I'm doing good. Mostly because we're through Game Changers. We're done. It's over as soon as we're done talking about it. I never need to watch this season again if I don't want to. I can be free.
What's funny, one of our listeners, and I've been keeping this comment top of mind because I appreciate feedback like this, was, don't go into Game Changers with your mind made up on it. And, I think Ryan is perhaps more negative on this season as a whole than I am. Shocker, Ryan is polarizing within himself, within his opinion sometimes. Sometimes it's not much middle ground. Much like the middle class, Ryan's middle ground shrinks. It's like, no, I never want to see this again. Or, you know what, I love this.
I think it's a case where, emotions come into play more than logic on how I feel about some seasons. So when you have something like Game Changers with such a negative event happening, it just kind of ruins the whole thing for me.
Right. And if you go back and listen to our pre-merge podcast, obviously we touch on everything that's going to have to do with that. And I made a pact that certain individuals will never be spoken about again, and we're going to stay true to that.
Yep. We'll have to address it briefly as we get into the first episode post-merge, just because the episode addresses it, but beyond that, we're basically done.
Yeah, there's a little bit of fallout that needs to be cleaned up, and we just try and get this filth off of what is otherwise, to me, a decent season. Josh, how do you feel about Game Changers as a whole?
Yeah, I actually thought it was a decent season. Sorry, Ryan, but
don't apologize. Don't apologize.
This one's fine.
I get the reason why. But, maybe I'm able to separate it a little bit more when it's just one single event. So, I don't know if that's a good thing to be able to do, but it seems like I am when I just kind of like look at the season as a whole. It's like, wow, there's this really crappy moment, and I never want to see or hear from that person again or address it ever again if we don't have to. But then if you look at the season as a whole, and especially our winner, and how that person got to the end and won the game, I think that really helps bring the season back up. So, and I haven't really gotten to my rankings yet for exactly where this is going to fall, but I would say it's probably going to be around middle of the road Survivor as far as just like where the season rankings are.
The other problem I have with it, to get into the winner is solid, but I feel like the edit did them a disservice, giving them more, I don't know, heroic's not the right word, but a more positive edit than they deserved. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying it was a villainous win, and it should be edited as such. And I'm not condemning that. It's just that was the road taken. And I wish there was a few things that were really important that were cut out, and I think that is a disservice to the season and the winner.
Right, and I think with that, we can kind of segue into whether or not we think that the post-merge of Game Changers is must-watch Survivor. There's a lot of Survivor, 48 seasons coming up on season 49 here pretty quickly. We are here to tell you whether or not this is must-watch Survivor. I mean, if you can watch it all, watch it all. This one's safe of any horrible moments. But guys, what do you think? Is the post-merge of Game Changers must-watch Survivor?
No.
God, it's so weird because we're at an interesting point in Survivor here to where, if this was present day and, season 34 had just happened and it's, going forward, I would say, yeah, probably, just because it's a really changing environment when it comes to advantages. Advance to the new era and, coming up on 49, like Derek mentioned, and maybe not. Maybe there is enough advantage heavy seasons that you can watch instead of this one to make this not necessarily must watch Survivor. But there are some firsts that are going on here, and there are some new things being introduced to the game in new ways that people approach those that I think are worthy enough to at least consider watching just to learn from.
I think that all the lessons that we relearn here, we can learn in different seasons up to this point, ones that are either more entertaining or more instructive on the whole. So not a ton new here. I will say the Postmerge should be must-watch Survivor for anyone on the production team. Anyone who's ever going to be advising on how Survivor is going to be built going forward, probably watch the season so that you can see what happens if you have too many things in play at once. And I'll just leave that at that, because it can end in ways that you don't love it. And we'll see it twice this season. We saw it in the pre-merge with Malcolm, and we'll see it again in the post-merge with names yet to be discussed in the spoilers section. So yeah, Game Changers is must watch for anyone ever advising on Survivor production.
Okay, that's fair. All right, spoiler alert. 3, 2, 1, get out of here. We're gonna have Sarah Lucina win this season, and again, I think she played a very villainous game, which, that is not a problem. That's not a bad thing. And I wish we'd seen more of it. There's 2 big moments that are not in the show at all, not even really alluded to, which is really too bad. And there's also the big Brad and Troyzan connection, which is super important, not alluded to at all. So yeah, I don't love the editing for this season.
I think I've had an issue with the editing all the way from the beginning, just because of it just felt so different than just what we're used to. I don't know why. For all we know, maybe they have new editors and this was like one of their first goes at it, but it just felt really choppy, I guess, when it comes to not even how people are edited, but just how the scenes and the music and the camera shots at challenges, it just really seemed really choppy in that way. Maybe that has some sort of connection to how the people and the characters were edited and kind of the storylines that they try to go with, because I think Brad is almost a little bit more interesting as well, just because of the way he was edited. I did not remember him being such a force in this season, just looking back at it, because this is only my second time watching it since it was live. I will admit, I didn't remember him making it to the final 3.
Oh, wow.
I knew Troyzan was there.
You don't remember
that Brad was there.
You didn't remember that him and Monica end up being equal, they both get the same place?
Yeah.
I did not remember that. So that's where I was oh yeah, Brad's gonna go out 4, because it's just being edited in a way that's oh, if Brad gets to the end, he wins. And then he won, and I'm oh, okay, well, I guess okay, I guess that makes sense. He really had a pretty poor social game, it seemed like, and that's going to end up being his downfall. But everything up until that point, I don't know, it was just kind of, I don't know if I want to call it a mess, because it wasn't really a mess, but it was just kind of, it seemed like it was not really going in all the correct directions, if that makes sense.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and what I'll say about the post-merge, and honestly the season as a whole, I think the gameplay acumen was very, very, very high. I think a lot of the right moves from a GameBot perspective happen or pretty close to it. I think everyone has a pretty good idea of what everyone else's best move is, and by way of advantage or idle or immunity, sometimes the best moves were thwarted and they had to pivot really quickly. So it is fun watching a game played, again, at that level. We saw it in Heroes vs. Villains. We saw it at parts in Philippines. So there are a few seasons where I think the gameplay levels is high. Winners at War is another great example. So give production credit. They picked a cast that came to play and play the best game that they could. Only a few people came and decided that they were okay with second or third place. But to agree with Ryan, I wish that they would have given Sarah Lucina more of the criminal edit that she hinted at in episode 1. As I was watching the season and everyone was giving glowing recommendations or glowing reviews of how close they were with Sarah, and Sarah made them feel comfortable in number 1, after the season aired, people like Andrea and Sierra Dawn Thomas were coming out and saying, she really did make you feel like you were her soulmate, and then she would cut your throat. And so to me, it's like Assistant Mayor Bellwether from the movie Zootopia, for anyone who's seen that. I'm going to cozy up to you, and then at the last second, I'm going to toss you in the pit with the lions, and you're going to die. That would have been a really fun edit to get from Sarah. And if you haven't seen it, or if you haven't read about this, you don't even know about the wedding ring story that we're going to get into eventually as well. So deep tease on that one.
Or I don't know if it was a deal, just a discussion with Andrea, where I don't know when exactly it happens, but Sarah basically made Andrea swear on her deceased sister, which is why Andrea is so emotional at the Final Tribal Council. Stuff like that. That is We had a whole arc on Survivor Vanuatu about that with Twyla. Why are we ignoring this? Well, it's because she won, and they want to give her a heroic edit, which sucks.
Right.
It's a disservice.
Right.
And inauthentic. Well, should we get into this?
Yes, let's get into it.
All right. Go over the cast again real quick. We've got 13 people left. Coming in from the original Mana, we have Aubrey Bracco, Haley Ford, Michaela Bradshaw, and Troyzan Robertson. Only 4 people from Mana made it. What a slaughter. And we have 9 people from Nuku. Andrea Belkey, Brad Culpepper, Cherie Fields, Debbie Warner, Ozzy Luth, Sarah Lucina, Sarah Don Thomas, Ty Trang, Zeke Smith. That's our final 13. To refresh on our winner picks, I originally had Haley, Derek had Sarah, Josh has Zeke. So we'll see how this goes for us.
It goes well for one of us.
Congrats, Derek.
Thanks, man. This was recorded years ago, by the way, so
yes,
this is legitimate.
Yep, this was in our league, our fantasy league that we do. Derek legitimately won this season back in the day with his Sarah pick.
My first buff.
Yeah, the winner of our league gets a buff. So yeah, Derek got his.
And you had to give me a Kageon buff because they were sold out of game changers.
Yeah, they were sold out of game changers buffs. So I got a Kageon one. Honestly, the Kageon one is better.
Yellow and black.
All right. Episode 7, there's a new sheriff in town, and this is a 2-parter. Where it's a 2-hour episode, so 2 full episodes. 2 people go home.
Is this like the record for number of double episodes we had?
Yes, this is.
There were 3.
This I think is the shortest season number of episodes wise. I don't know why they doubled up so much. Maybe the Olympics was this year.
It's not like they had 18 people.
Nope.
And did this. They did it with 20 people and decided, yeah, we're fine. We only need 12 episodes or whatever it was.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was the Olympics, but there was something that kind of made them have a more of a truncated schedule episode-wise. I don't remember exactly what it was. We're going to start out when there was some fallout, obviously, from Last Tribal. Zeke seems to be doing okay on the surface. He's going to tell us later he was definitely way more rattled than he let on. And he, in an interview post this season, he was just like, yeah, my gameplay was erratic and all over the place, and I was not thinking clearly. And like, you know what? That's fair. That's absolutely fair. If anyone has an excuse to not think clearly on Survivor, it's Zeke after that. But we're going to merge. And at the merge feast, Jeff Probst is like, hey, you guys can have the merge feast, but 2 people have to sit out, 1 from each tribe, in order for everyone else to get it. Guys, do not volunteer to sit out. Let everyone starve together. There's no reason for you to sit out. Brad and Ty are going to volunteer. No, absolutely not. You either get food or nobody gets food.
Yeah, the only, I don't even know if there is any good that can come from this. The only time that it can be good is if you're lucky. Because you could sit out and get goodwill from people, but then people can just use that as a reason to target you. Just like, oh yeah, they sat out. Like, they're already playing the game so hard. Like, who would sit out? So, no. Let someone else do it. Draw rocks or draw sticks or something like that. Rock, paper, scissors. Who cares? Figure out a different way to do it other than volunteering.
Sure. If someone comes up with the draw rocks thing, fine. That's fair enough. But otherwise, just let you all starve together.
I don't know that I fully agree, but this is a little thing, so who cares?
You should fully agree.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, I'm fine with no food.
Okay,
I'm not going to deny everyone else food.
Guys, Derek get targeted.
Derek is really playing the social game. He's trying to butter us all up at the end. We all have to vote for him now because he gave us all food. Derek, first member of the jury.
I don't think so. I think if production puts you into a circumstance, you can talk to them about it was either me or nobody gets food.
Exactly.
I'm fine with doing it.
Nobody gets food.
Don't own up right away. Let there be plenty of awkward silence and then just say, just because I don't want everyone to go without food. Very much like make production the bad guys. But no. I don't see it. I don't see a need to force everyone to suffer. So if you're feeling it, go ahead.
Derek is very wrong. Force everyone to suffer.
Disagree.
Hey, you know what? That's fine. That's fine.
Majority rules.
Haley and Michaela are going to merge as kind of the 2 targets because no one wants to work with them. Everybody's like, yeah, they can go. Any objections to Haley or Michaela going first? None? Cool. Because nobody's really had a good working relationship with them. It helps that their original tribe has been decimated. But also, nobody really likes Michaela besides Sari. And Haley's kind of an enigma. I don't really get her. I don't know why she's such an outsider.
Yeah, I want to comment on Michaela, though, because one thing I've been thinking about this entire Postmerge. It's the only time I'm going to say it, I think. Everyone's talking about how she lays around camp. She's got no energy. She's exhausted. Doesn't really seem like she's into it. We have to remember, Michaela's 135 pounds, and she just came off of season 33. it's not an excuse. You have to fake it until you make it. But with respect to Michaela's gameplay, if someone is going to be affected, it's going to be somebody in that situation. So I get it as well. Not an excuse. You got to overcome it. But I don't blame her for not being able to.
Zeke's going to come out to the rest of the cast, which is a nice-ish moment. But yeah, again, kind of forced to because everyone else knows. So now you have to tell everybody. But at least everybody's supportive. So that's nice, I guess. But now we can move on from this.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Yep.
We'll only mention it one more time.
Oh, I'm not going to.
When?
I'm done.
Memorable moments.
Oh, yeah, memorable moments. Yeah. But
It'll be the briefest mention.
Fair.
So Zeke, Suri, Andrew, and Sarah think they can pull in Michaela as a number. They want to keep her around because they're worried that Brad's group will win this war. It's kind of Brad's group versus Suri's group at this point. Haley also wants Michaela to stay because they could maybe have a working relationship. So she tells Michaela, hey, your name's being thrown out. We should do something about this. It's not going to work out for Haley, but you know. But we're going to get Suri and Michaela talking and bonding. And this is actually awesome. This is one of the best scenes of the post-merge because they're both black women and Suri's older, Michaela's younger, so they bond pretty heavily over that. And Suri sees a lot of herself in Michaela, like the younger version of her was like Michaela a lot. So Suri's going to give Michaela some advice on how to play, and they're talking about, like, wouldn't it be cool if we can get 2 black women to the end? Because that hasn't happened before. That would have been really cool. And this is a really great scene.
Yeah, especially since that means that Suri would have made it to the end.
Yeah, wouldn't that have been nice?
Oh, boy.
Oh, rip. Andrea's going to win immunity. Sierra, because she's played with Haley before, thinks Haley seems very confident, way more confident than she was the first time, and is worried she might have an idol. So she wants to split the votes between Michaela and Haley, with Michaela being the primary target. Wait a second. Hold the phone. That does not make sense. This does not make sense. Okay, so you think Haley has an idol, but you want her to be the backup target? That does not track. You target Haley first, then.
When you have this many numbers and you can split it this cleanly, absolutely. And you could do almost complete hinky vote on Michaela. You could almost pile on to Haley other than that. Maybe do 2 in case they decide to join forces.
Yeah,
but
3 votes to Michaela, everyone else votes Haley.
Yeah, this wasn't a very well thought out plan. Like, what if she doesn't play her idol? Are you going to do it again? No, you have to take the shot at the person that you think has an idol.
But Haley and Michaela are both told Zeke is the target. Basically, like, Zeke's got a great story. We can't let him get to the end. I feel like if I was on this season, I'd be like, you know what? Zeke gets a pass in the first round after everything that's happened. Next time.
And I get it. It makes sense as like a decoy. Like they're not actually going for Zeke. So it makes sense as a decoy just because it's buyable.
Yep, it is.
It's just weird. It's just weird.
This is one of those hard moments, man. This feels a lot like some of the discussions we had in seasons 1, 2, and 3, particularly if you were non-standard sexuality, right? So if you're gay, lesbian, or something, it might have not behooved you to come out to a certain group of people because it could get you voted out in those early seasons. We said we don't agree with that. We don't like it. But if you want to win $1 million, it might be important to keep that under wraps.
In the year 2000, 2001.
Yes. And so I'm just saying, like, I don't agree with that. But if you're trying to win the game, it may have behooved you, right? This is another one of those circumstances where if someone comes up to you and says, well, Zeke's got a great story, he can't make it to the end because otherwise he'll for sure get the money. If you don't want that person to never work with you again, you might just have to agree with them and say, oh, yeah, we have to make sure we get Zeke out because of his story before the end. On this particular season, I feel like everyone was respecting the gameplay. And the other part is with the way Zeke plays, if he does make it to the end, he's always going to be a threat to win, not because of his story, because of his gameplay. So, like Ryan, it feels a little ucky. If Zeke makes it to the end, he probably deserves to win on his own merit.
But Suri and Zeke, they obviously don't want Michaela to go. They want to use her, so they want to try and move the target to Haley. And Zeke goes up to Sierra like, hey, this plan doesn't really make sense to me. And it really pisses Sierra off, but it's like, no, he's right, though. It doesn't make sense.
Why don't we put a majority on Haley?
Aren't we trying, like, we're scared she has an idol? Cool, let's vote her out.
It's like, I'm not trying to do anything crazy here or backstab anyone. I'm just logic.
Survivor Game Changer, Sierra Dawn Thomas, everybody.
There's a new sheriff in town. I
So
hated
that. Sheriff Don Thomas. Sheree's going to tell Michaela what's going on, but does not want to expose her hand. So she tells Michaela, hey, just vote for Zeke. I never told you this. We're going to save you, but we can't let it be known that this was leaked. So vote Zeke. So we're going to go to tribal council. And Haley offers, hey, if someone asks me, I'm not going to just freely do this, but if someone asks me, I will consent to a strip search to check for idols.
Do it.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised no one takes her up on it. Like, I don't know. What's crazy is we're gonna see this next season. Somebody does the strip search in 35. I don't know if you guys remember that, but literally next season, and I don't think they had seen Game Changers, so it's kind of crazy that.
Well, it reminds me so much of, and I can't remember if this was season 40 or a different season, but Boston Rob, who was everybody dump out your bags, dump them out, do it. Like this is I will do a full strip search. Let's do it right now.
I bet your boss Rob was gonna be like, yeah, do it.
Well, if you're offering. I'm not ashamed. Jeff, it's a game for $1 million. If I have to strip search someone, I'm going to do it.
Heck, all of you strip search. Everyone. Naked tribal council.
You too, Jeff.
Take it off, Jeff. It's Richard Hatch's dream season.
I'd like to play Jeff's belt buckle as an idol. Oh, Adam, we love you.
Gotta go for it.
Every time.
But it's going to end up being 7 votes for Haley, 4 votes for Michaela, 2 Zeke. Good move. You know, you got a pretty unanimous vote from everybody. Somebody no one really wants to work with. Easy, clean pick, especially for anyone who hasn't been on a tribe with Haley at this point, which is weird. You know, it is Game Changers. We've had, 3 different incarnations of tribe, so I don't even know who hasn't played with Haley at this point, if anybody. Good move.
It's consensus enough for me to say, okay, this works for everyone to try and find their feet. Keeps things interesting and keeps options open. Haley going home doesn't really slam the door on any. I don't think it slams the door on anybody. Actually, I was about to couch that a little bit, but I don't think any doors are closed with Haley leaving.
No, yeah, this is a fine move. Like, it could be so many people here. Haley works. I don't think she's setting herself up to win the game, but at the same time, it's the merge. I'm not going to get too picky about let's get out the biggest threat. No. Just go.
Mara Ponderosa.
Haley is the Mara Ponderosa for the second time in a row. It's kind of funny because the first 3 people to go out, they go out in the exact same spot they went out, like jury wise. they were repeating history a little bit here. That's just kind of funny. Derek, who do you got for best player?
Yeah, I've got Sari. And I think the big thing is, we all agree that the right move ended up happening here, but we have to remember that for a fair portion of the strategic discussion of this episode, the wrong person was getting targeted. Sari managed to tilt the tables toward the right person while placating the people who felt or needed to feel like they were in power and completely in power, which is the Sierra Don Thomas / Brad Culpepper / Troy Zan alliance. If you can buy time to let them get a little more comfortable, you might be able to get the leg up on them. That might be foreshadowing. That might be something that happened. So Sari for righting the ship along with, Zeke, but being smart enough to let Michaela know, we cannot let them know that this leaked. All right. This is important. So I've got Sari.
I also had Suri. Loved the way that she was able to build that relationship with Michaela, especially. That was the big part for me, and was able to have that go through the episode, even without kind of having her relationship just kind of in the open. I don't remember which one of you guys, but one of you guys mentioned the fact that, she essentially said, hey, it's fine, but make sure that you vote this way so that this isn't, an obvious relationship. So that was a really good under the radar move while so much other stuff is going on.
I also had 3. Everything you guys said. Josh, who do you got for worst player?
I had Sierra, and I don't know. She just rubbed me the wrong way this episode. It's not like it was anything crazy bad. It just seemed like she let her ego get a little too big here and wanted to just kind of take hold of the game and didn't do, I don't know if she just didn't do math or didn't do logic or what, but it just didn't really make sense with how they were splitting it. And it seemed to be annoyed whenever someone just offered up logic to her. So bad.
I can see where you're coming from. I don't think it affected any strategy enough for me to give her worst player. I still think she ended up being like over the positive negative line. So I ended up not giving one out.
So I was at NA, but anytime you have someone actively needing to placate you because you've got horrible ideas, I'm going to knock you down a peg. And I do think Sierra was the figurehead of that in this instance. I like that she got into an alliance. I like that she has some foothold. But again, if people are placating to you this early in the post-merge, it's not a good foundation, not a good launching pad for you to try and have options as you move forward in the game. So I switched from NA to Sierra after further contemplation.
Okay. And we didn't even bring it up, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts on whether or not this is a good move. Debbie pretending to be drunk at the merge feast.
Yeah, Debbie's going to tell us she was pretending to be drunk at the merge feast. I don't know if I believe her that she was pretending. I don't know. I take everything Debbie says with a grain of salt, and there may have been plenty of grains of salt on every margarita she had. I don't know. So I no comment.
Okay, we've seen Debbie play down her acumen before. It's what she did on Karang, and it worked with some success, to varying degrees of success on that season. So whether or not she is or isn't telling the truth, she's been proven an unreliable narrator regardless. If she's going for, I'm more capable than I am letting on, it doesn't matter if she was drunk there or not, because either way, I think she'd be perceived the same. Either you're a weird theater kid who's completely sober, or you're drunk, 3 sheets to the wind, and you let loose at the merge feast. Alcohol isn't an excuse to act that way, so I don't think it makes a difference.
Okay.
Guys, I lost my winner pick.
Haha.
So at the time, I moved on to Sierra just because she had the legacy advantage. I'm like, I don't know how this is going to break. And I was still kind of on the Sarah or Sierra train at this point. I'm like, Sierra's got the legacy advantage. Tiebreaker, I'll go Sierra. Today, I probably would have picked Brad.
That's fair. I like how you're dying on the hill. Like, all right, I got 3 people it could be, and I'm just going to move to the next one.
I was right. I was right.
Eventually.
But like my thought process, completely correct.
To be fair, that's 3 people out of the remaining, 11? Or whatever we're at.
3 out of 20, sir. We're winding all the way
remaining.
back. But originally, it was, 3, it was like one of these 3 is going to win. And I was right.
That is one impressive thing, though. All 3 of them made it to the merge, Ryan. So there's something to be said about that.
I was completely 100% right. I'm basically the same as Derek getting it.
Yeah.
I deserve a buff.
Yeah.
All right, part 2 of this episode. Suri and Michaela are going to agree to keep their alliance hidden. And so Suri, Aubrey, and Zeke, they discuss taking out Sierra next. And I'm like, uh-oh. But they want to break up her, Brad, and Troy's end because they seem like a really tight trio, because they are. So they're going to bring in Sarah, Andrea, Michaela, and Ozzy to make this happen. So we're down to 12, and that is 7 people. So that should work. Break up this trio. I like it.
Them's the numbers.
Math.
Definitely going to work. However, Zeke sees Suri and Andrea as leaders of his alliance, and he does not like that. He wants to be in control. He wants to switch things up. A theme I have noticed this season is it's kind of like Cambodia, where it's like who has learned their lesson from last time and who hasn't. And I don't blame Zeke, because he's clearly not in the right headspace, justifiably so, but he did not learn his lesson from Millennials versus Gen X. He plays too hard, too fast, needs to be too much in control, and that's going to be his downfall again here.
Well, he did almost the exact same thing.
And he's going to go out in almost the exact same spot.
And he says it before doing it. So, he acknowledges it, knows that it's a problem, knows that it's probably not the right move, but just can't help himself.
And he wants to turn on Andrea, which is super questionable because he knows her from before the game. They were on Survivor Brooklyn together. They're pretty close. So it doesn't make a ton of sense. But again, I'm going to give Zeke quite a bit of a pass. Like, I'll still point out the flaws in this game, but it's like, I get it, man. Or I know, I can't even say I get it. I have no idea what his headspace is like, but it's such a big thing that it's like, yeah, of course you're not going to play to the best of your ability. So I'm going to give Zeke a huge pass, though he is still eligible for best and worst players.
Which is fine, but let's drop in Zeke in more clear headspace, right?
Yes.
Like, Zeke absent this situation, let's say everything plays out exactly the same, except that information never comes out and everything is still on track, right? I would say to Zeke, why are you swinging for the fences right now? To go back to David Wright from that season, why are you swinging for the fences? All you need right now is a base hit. The game is far from over and you're not losing. Let these egos settle and then maneuver your way from there. And as long as you are in the conversations and not blindly being told what to do, then people will understand and appreciate come jury time who made the right moves and who played the best game. On a season like this, Karang, maybe a little different, but on a season like this, you don't have to be the head figure to win the game.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Correct.
Zeke is going to talk to Debbie and Ty about taking out Andrea, and they're going to say they're on board, but Debbie does not trust Zeke at all.
Fair.
So she does not mean it.
Good read.
So we're going to get to the classic hold on to a pole for as long as you can immunity challenge, and obviously Ozzy is going to win this one. Nope. Ty and Ozzy final two, but Ty wins it, and Ozzy falls, and Ozzy goes home here tonight. It's poetic, really.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope they bring back the poll for season 50.
Yep. Yeah, me too.
They've gotta.
They gotta. Let's see if Ozzy can redeem himself.
Yeah, so on this one, though, Andrea fell, I'm pretty sure, from the top,
Oh, yeah.
right? So
She dropped from the top.
yeah, because she didn't want to, like, skin up her legs. But, like, Survivor production, if you bring it back, do the old movie thing where you put, like, the mats below the sand. So when they
Cover it with
fall,
sand.
like, nobody at home will be like, oh, that's not a real beach. It's like, well, if you're actually surviving on an island, you're not hanging from a really nice pole.
True.
Those are natural poles, Derek. They grew from the sand.
Now, I haven't seen all of Castaway, but I'm pretty sure Tom Hanks doesn't hang from like a really nicely carved pole at any point. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, no, and we all know that totem pole seeds are not native to Fiji, so those grow elsewhere. What are we even doing here?
So speaking of people who haven't really learned their lesson, Ozzy. Basically, so the final two, up on the pole, and he tells people, like, if I lose, I won't be able to go catch fish today. I'll have to spend my time strategizing. So Ty wins. So Ozzy has to spend his time strategizing, and no one cares Ozzy doesn't go catch fish. He keeps thinking because he's a provider, they'll keep him around. And once again, he overestimates his value.
I don't think that he does. Like, I hear what you're saying, Ryan, but he doesn't in confessional say, well, because I'm a provider, they can't vote me out. He says to the group, I'm a provider, don't vote me out.
I mean, on his way out, he's like, good luck eating, catching fish.
But I mean, that sounds like someone who understands. I don't think that Ozzy hasn't learned his lesson. I think there isn't much that he can do once people decide to try and send him home.
I don't think Ozzy's learned his lesson. I really don't.
I lean a little bit towards Derek here. I'm not going all the way, but I think that he knows he's not completely oblivious.
Maybe not completely oblivious, but I still don't think he's learned his lesson.
Right, and this is his fourth time playing, right?
Yeah.
You're telling me that he is not aware of the perception of him being a physical beast who is going to be thought of as someone who can win every challenge from here to the horizon?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's still overestimating his value. And he needs to try doing some other stuff. He's played the same game 4 times. It's not working.
That's production's fault for casting him. I don't think he can play another game. Just, bro, I want to go fishing.
Freaking try. I want to see some efforts.
What Ozzy needs to do is pull a Tyson and fake an injury. So he can't be a provider and he can't be a challenge beast.
Sure.
That's what he needs to do.
Sure.
Ozzy, big fan of the podcast. Let us know. Did you know this was coming?
So Zeke is going to tell Sierra he wants Andrea out, and Sierra immediately rats him out to his own alliance. And they're like, okay, we're going to take out Zeke.
That's so stupid.
Whoops. So Debbie suggests to her alliance, like, hey, they're not going to vote for, like, kind of one of their own in Zeke. Why don't we seize the opportunity, and we'll just take out Ozzy instead. We'll just go that way. So she tells Sarah about this, and Sarah's going to kind of become the swing vote here, which is going to be a common theme.
Mm-hmm.
But Sarah's closest ally at this point is Zeke. So, like, yeah, it kind of makes sense why she's going to flip the other side, because she and Zeke are like this. Uber tight. In fact, Zeke told her at one point, because he knew he wasn't going to win. He knew he was going to get taken out for his story at some point. So he's like, Sarah, if the time comes for you have to vote for me, do it. And then go win this thing. But for now, you generally want to keep your closest ally in the game at the final 12. So it makes sense that she flips to me. But we're going to go to Tribal Council. Debbie's going to play her extra vote that she got from Cochran. We're going to get 7 votes for Ozzy, 4 votes for Zeke, 1 Aubrey, 1 Sierra. So Zeke ended up being told the new target was Aubrey. So he was the one who voted for Aubrey. Sari decided to throw a hinky vote on Sierra to cause some chaos. But obviously Debbie and Sierra's alliance came up and took out Ozzy in a really pretty awesome move. Zeke kind of blew this one. They had the numbers to take away from the tightest trio in the game, Sierra, Brad, Troyzan. They didn't take it. This really should have been Sierra.
Yeah, probably. Or, like, anyone else, just because all you have to do is just sit back for a little bit. Just don't get antsy. Don't get big move-itis here. I know that we're in, the early to mid 30s of Survivor, and it's just kind of heading in that direction in just like Survivor history. And Zeke is, one of those people who is kind of I don't know if I should say that he's like championing it, but I just going back to Millennials versus Gen X, like his big thing that he talked about, especially at Final Tribal Council, was like, what did you do to move the game forward? And I think that, Survivor, and not just like, hey, what's going on in this game, but what is going on in Survivor just as a whole? How is that changing? How can I impact that when you don't need to do all that? Like you can just play the game and do it in a smart way. Be careful, make good moves, but do it in a way that's with a little bit more finesse. So we shouldn't even be close to where we're at right now.
I want to acknowledge very strongly what Josh just said, because the way that Zeke is playing Survivor is the same way that I play most board games. I'm not here to win. I'm here to be a legend. Either I am going to do something absolutely ridiculous and hopefully win, or I'm going to do something absolutely ridiculous. It probably won't pay off, but man, oh man, if it works, it's undeniable. That's how Zeke is playing Survivor. And we're a podcast that's trying to help future Survivor players win the game. Zeke's got a little Tony in him, I think. And you got to remember, if you think you can play like Tony, you can't. Even Tony can't always play like Tony.
That was a one-off. It was a fluke.
It was a fluke. Tony will never win again.
Tony 1.0 will never win again.
Yeah. So acknowledge that for Zeke, and also acknowledge that I respect it, but it is very difficult to win the game doing it that way.
Yeah, and it's different if you do that in Monopoly or Mario Party, where there's no real stakes except bragging rights. And then if you do something legendary, you win major bragging rights. You're playing for $1 million. I'm assuming you'd rather have $1 million than have an epic move that failed.
Yeah. Play the game until you've won, and then do it like JT. They probably won't let me win again. I am just gonna swing.
There you go. Do that your second time.
I would love JT's Survivor career to be mine. Win the first game, like unanimous, perfect game, and then just come back and be like, I don't care.
I'm gonna do something stupid.
Are you ready for something silly, guys?
Yeah. I could live with if I put me in JT's place. I can absolutely live with Tokashins and Heroes versus Villains. Game Changers, no. Cut that one out. But his first two seasons, I can live with. I would swap places with him for that.
I can even live with his Game Changers, because like everybody big got voted on the pre-merge. It's not a JT thing.
He had an idol that he left buried at the beach. It's pretty bad.
That's bad. That's
legendary.
Bad. Don't do that. I'm
gonna make a legendary move and not even bring my idol.
I'm so safe because Michaela ate the sugar.
So best player, I have Sierra Dawn Thomas. It was really between her and Debbie, but Sierra's the one who threw Zeke under the bus to Zeke's alliance, which got them all to target him, and then Debbie changed the target. So yeah, it was really a game of inches for me, but Sierra's a better player than Debbie. So
is she?
I'm gonna give Debbie her flowers. I did give her best of the episode, because ultimately, if you can seize an opportunity of dividing factions and do a plurality vote of any kind, you get flowers. And Debbie was the one who spearheaded that. Like, you know what? We'll hurt him in a different way. We're just going to seize the opportunity, not the one that they presented to us. We're going to take it and we're going to flip it into something else. And Ozzy is going to be the unwitting target of this. So I gave it to Debbie, and I don't believe I will be saying her name again for best for the rest of the post-merge. So I'm glad we're getting it out of the way now.
I gave her an honorable mention.
I'm giving it to Debbie. I don't feel very strongly about it, though, just because good on her for doing it, but I did not like the way that she did it. She just was really aggro in going up to people and being like, this is what we're doing, run to the next person, this is what we're doing. It's just like, it seemed very much just bull in a china shop, and people were probably just in a position to be like, yeah, sure, that's fine, like, it's not me, it's not anyone in my alliance, sure, let's do it. So I just really did not like the way that she approached it, but still good enough to be the best.
Speaking of people who didn't learn their lesson, Derek, who do you got for worst player?
Yeah, I got Zeke. Why are we swinging for the fences right now? I mean, again, I respect what he's trying to do. I respect the game that he's trying to play. But if we're being honest, sometimes if you go out, just throw in Hail Marys or swinging for the fences, you're going to strike out. You're going to waste a good series. you're not going to win. So I think he's not trusted by his alliance anymore, and the people who ratted him out already didn't trust him. He's left with very few options, even if he's nice, he's clever, and he's strategic. He's not out of the game yet, but on a season like this is what gets doors slammed on you permanently.
Yeah, I had Zeke as well. There wasn't really like Derek is saying, I respect what he's trying to do. I don't know if I do. Just because like this isn't gonna work. There's not a world where this works. This isn't even like a Tony game. It's just kind of, hey, we're at final 12 or whatever, and we're making a decision to abandon your core alliance and people who you have a good relationship with for them to go out 12 and 11, and you're gonna somehow be able to get through the next 7 votes after that. Like that is so unrealistic to the point of it just being reckless and just bad. So yeah, it's Zeke, and it's not even close.
I completely agree. Zeke. Ozzy, we've talked about this, but Ozzy's going to be on season 50. Josh, do you want it?
Yeah, I'll go back to I think what I said during our season 50 cast assessment, where it's like, not really. Like it's kind of like fine. Like I'm intrigued to see what he does, just because season 34 now at this point is going to be 8 years ago or whatever it is, however that math works out. So, is he going to change? Is he going to still think that, being a provider and being a physical threat is enough to get him to the end? Or is he going to be able to change his game? Stay tuned to find out. But I don't think so.
It's a no from me, dog.
I will have Ozzy back on exactly 1 season in the future, and it is the Jeff Probst farewell tour. If it is Jeff Probst's final season, I think that Jeff should go and handpick whatever cast that he wants.
Yeah, his 20 favorite castaways.
So Survivor,
Oh, yeah.
Survivor, Jeff's victory lap, whatever it is. And I think Ozzy would be on that season. And that would be more of a celebration again of what Survivor is, which is kind of what 50 is. He didn't make my list, but I'd rather see him on like that Jeff Probst farewell tour sort of thing. So I'm not offended that he's on 50. I didn't need to see him. Those are my thoughts.
Okay. Episode 8, a line drawn in concrete. Down to the final 11, so it seems like Debbie, Sarah, Brad, Sierra, Ty, and Troyzan have control. It's going to last a real long time. And then obviously the fallout is Andrea is real pissed at Zeke. Sarah's going to apologize to Zeke about not including him in the vote, but they do talk and they do plan. Sarah wants to pull in Zeke to take out Andrea next. So have a 7th person in their group. Reward challenge. There is going to be it's either a 5 versus 5 random draw or schoolyard pick, whatever it ends up being. Michaela is not picked, but there is a secret advantage hidden on the sit-out bench. And Michaela is so pissy that she didn't get picked that she doesn't even see it at any point, which is hilarious.
And in a moment that still lives on in modern Survivor edits, with everybody checking underneath the sit-out bench every time for a secret advantage. I mean, this is an early contender for most memorable moment of the season because it changed the sit-out bench forever.
And yeah, they will put the secret advantage down there every once in a while now. I don't know if they've done it in a while. It's hard to really fault Michaela since this is the first time it's ever happened. Like, who is to expect that? And like, who's going to be looking around at the edges or like at the feet of the bench? I'm actually going to I'm going to be a little bit more relaxed with Michaela on this. It's funny. It is very funny just because it's right there. But I would bet that the angle in order to see that is actually a lot harder than what it looks like on the camera.
Brad, Andrea, Aubrey, Debbie, and Sierra are going to win reward. But we're going to get a moment where Suri got stuck on the balance beam section, so everyone helps her finish the balance beam. So that's nice. Sarah, Troyzan, Zeke, and Ty, I'll go help her get across, which is a nice moment. But Sarah is going to notice the advantage and snag it before they leave back to camp, and it's a vote steal.
Now, I know we need to stop here for a second because Josh said he's not going to blame Michaela. In my mind, I didn't blame Michaela in my memory, and then I rewatched it. It's one thing where if it's like hidden, like up in the bowels of the bench. No, it's a giant tubular cylinder thing that says secret advantage on it in text so big that I'm pretty sure I could do it without readers. Like, Sarah spotted it from across the way. And how did she jump into
she's
the
across
water?
the way. She's not sitting above it, and her line of sight is blocked by the bench.
How did Michaela get to the sit-out bench?
I bet they strategically drove her over in a way that she did not have to get up on that side, because otherwise if that's the case, if she swam over and had to get up on the bench, okay, different story.
That is
Completely
possible.
different story.
We did not see her swim. We did not see her take a boat, but both are possible.
I
Both are possible.
bet the boat dropped her off on the other side of the bench, and she got up and just put her shoes underneath the bench, and that's it.
We don't know.
We don't know.
That
but
seems like a Jeff thing to actually like script out that way.
bad on everybody for not noticing Sarah do this. She had to jump in the water, get on the platform, get the advantage, stick it in her shoe, and then go back to the normal boat.
Very unnatural.
How did everybody miss this?
Good on Sarah.
Bad on everyone else.
Bad on everyone else. If she had got noticed, I would say play it right away, but she didn't get noticed, so good for her. On reward, Brad is going to tell us, because he was a captain, and it was a schoolyard pick. He intentionally did not pick Troyzan or Sarah for his team so that he could have his alliance at both locations. There we go, Brad.
That's why you're a game changer, buddy.
Someone clearly listens to the podcast.
Yeah, Brad Culpepper, big fan of the podcast 3 years before we started it.
Yeah, buddy. Sri is going to work on trying to convince Sarah to flip on Brad and Sierra and split them up. So, again, Sarah's going to end up in the swing position. Troyzan's going to win immunity. So, the Power Alliance, Brad and Sierra's alliance, they want to vote out Michaela, possibly because they can't stand her. None of them like her. But they're going to settle on Andrea instead because they kind of see her as the biggest threat. But during this discussion, Sarah feels like she doesn't get to say anything. And she felt like the other five made the decision and she was just kind of there. So she doesn't like that. She feels like she's on the bottom of this six. She's like, oh, maybe I should flip. But things change because Sierra's going to come to her and be like, hey, I want to go to the final three with you and Debbie. And Sarah's like, well, that's music to my ears. I could beat both of you with my hand tied behind my back. So Sarah's like, okay. So maybe I can let go of this one because maybe I'm not sixth in this group.
And by the way, before we gloss over it, good on Sierra for, at this point in the game, bringing Sarah in on something. Because we always talk about you didn't make somebody feel comfortable enough. Now, Sarah might still end up doing something, but at least Sierra wouldn't be the target in this situation. So good on Sierra for that.
Yep.
Like, she's making her comfortable. At least she's helping.
She's trying.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Debbie's going to ruin everything. Again.
What?
Debbie's going to go tell Aubrey that Michaela is the target. And she also wants to throw in just a little bit of counterintelligence by saying Sarah said she doesn't trust Aubrey. And Aubrey's immediately going to rat Debbie out to Sarah. And Sarah's like, what the hell, man? I didn't say that. So now Sarah's pissed again, which is fair.
Fair.
And it's Debbie all over again. She played too hard and was a little too aggro, and then everybody gets sick of her, and then she gets voted out. It's going to be 6 votes for Debbie, 5 votes for Andrea. Sarah flips on Debbie because she's like, screw you. Get out of here.
Yeah, it's a classic conundrum of, am I annoyed by this person enough to vote them out now or bring them to the end and, have them get no votes?
And you know what? I think there is a line, like from a game strategy, game bot perspective, Sarah was directly the victim of some of this counterintelligence that Debbie was just trying to sprinkle onto the game as garnish. And when Sarah finds out about that, it's like, I can't play with this person. She's actively trying to sabotage my game rather than just like our games naturally, coming to a fork in the road eventually. Because everyone's games should come to a fork eventually if everyone's trying to win. Well, Debbie just decided to pave her own path right off of Sarah's. Like, all right, there's literally no working with you. And that's enough plausible deniability for Sarah to go to Brad, Sierra, and Troyzan and say, look, she's trying to torpedo my game. She'll do it to you next. So she's got that plausible deniability.
And Sarah and Andrea are close. I think they were on every tribe together all the way from the beginning. So there's that element as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I want to talk about that for a small second. At one point in the edit, I think they might have whoop-de-whopped her. They said, like, I can't stand that girl, Andrea.
Yeah, Sarah says in a confessional, seemingly, I can't stand that girl. Yeah, that was very much a Franken clip,
Yes.
Franken edit. That didn't happen.
Yes.
That was not said. So that bad on Survivor for those fake edits.
Yep.
So yeah, 6 votes for Debbie, 5 votes for Andrea. I do think this was the wrong move though. Not on Sarah's part, but if we take a look at Ryan's rank downs, as we do. Ryan's patented rank. Ryan's rank downs that are patented and always right. So I like to rank people from who I think is most likely to win to least likely to win. And it's a little confusing this season just because the edit's a little bit off. But I think there's a clear top three. These three would be an elite final three if they go to the end together. And it's Sarah, Andrea, and Suri. I don't know who exactly would win, but I think those are just the heavy hitters who will destroy everyone else if they get to the end. But after that, I think it's Sierra, Brad, Ozzy, Aubrey, Zeke, Troyzan, Debbie, Ty, Michaela. So for Michaela, voting out Debbie is terrible because that's one of the. I still think Michaela would lose, but it is one of the only people Michaela has a chance against. So Michaela should not be voting out Debbie under any circumstances. So I don't like that Michaela just went along with this. I think she should have tried something else, and one vote is enough here. I would probably say maybe Michaela flips on Andrea. I know they're in an alliance together, but if those are your options, Michaela should flip on Andrea instead because Andrea's a massive threat to win. So yeah, I think I'm going to land on Andrea is probably the right move.
I'm okay with Debbie being the right move because if we remember the way these factions were splitting up, it was turning into, again, the same way that we framed it up at the merge. It's kind of like Cerie's group over here and Brad and Sierra and Troyzan's group over here and Sierra and Zeke kind of in the middle. Well, now Sarah's very clearly in the middle. Cerie wants to make sure that her group doesn't lose at least some sort of pen to paper numbers because that's a big deal in Survivor. Now, I know Sarah's going to say the tide washes away the sand, washes away the line drawn in the sand, as good players often do. But I think Cerie is smart to help come to Sarah and say, yeah, we will help you get Debbie out because you can't work with that. Anybody but somebody in my alliance. Very clever by Cerie on this one, because if you try and make it somebody else, that really could end up flipping the game all on its head. Michaela needs to find a way to jockey for a position, but I don't think right move for Michaela should determine who goes home here. I think it was the best for the most number of people.
It comes down to one vote. It absolutely does. Michaela needs to flip. That is all that is needed. So yes,
you're not thinking about like the repercussions after this vote, though. Like, yes, single out this vote and be like, yeah, is that logical for Michaela to keep Debbie around? Sure. But then what happens after that?
I don't care. Michaela needs a chance to win. She has to go to the end with Debbie and tie.
You need to be able to pick up the pieces, though, and have a game going forward. And if Michaela does that, I don't know if she does.
I don't know if she does either, but she doesn't have a game going forward if she does this.
I think she can change how she plays the game without it just completely blindsiding the people that she's been working with.
Sure, if you have another option, feel free, but she can't vote out Debbie. That's off the table. She can't do that. Can't. Period.
The way that I'm looking at it, I agree with Ryan that it's bad for Michaela, but I think that Debbie going home is a positive for many people's games.
Sure.
Even people who ended up voting for Andrea because they ended up keeping the status quo because they weren't the target of Debbie's shenanigans. And that's why, I'm not going to, hard say that Ryan is off base. He's right about Michaela needing to keep Debbie around. But I still think Debbie is the right move for the most number of people, particularly the people who actually have agency in this game. So it's a tricky one where I think a few people maybe made the wrong moves and made the wrong votes. Debbie forced some hands that shouldn't have been forced at a time that didn't make sense for her. So I think it is the right move.
Yeah, I kind of just said, why not? It's fine. We're at an interesting point where this 6, if Sarah wants to commit to it, this can be a really big dominant 6. It seems like everyone is willing to go semi-far together, and if Sarah felt more comfortable, maybe they would have. So I think it is in a lot of people's interest to break this up, regardless of who that person is that ends up going home. Debbie seems to be the most vocal right now at this point, as she says multiple times at Tribal and at other places, this is the 6. We are deciding who is going home and no one can do anything about it. My name's Debbie and I don't care about anything that makes sense in this game. I'm just gonna go with the season 11 strategy here. No, just take out someone like Debbie and then it's just a brand new game after that. It's a brand new season. We can pick up the pieces, make new alliances, and just finish the game, and really anyone can. It's in their hands, but anyone can still win then at that point. Some people have to work a lot harder than others, but anyone can win.
I did enjoy watching her go home.
Yes.
It's very satisfying. Best player, I'm going to give mine to Aubrey because she was the one who changed the game by throwing Debbie under the bus to Sarah and got her to flip on Debbie. So I'm going to give mine to Aubrey.
Yeah, I hadn't considered Aubrey, but I like that. I felt like Cerie, again, was instrumental in making sure that her group stayed together and placated to Sarah enough, or pandered to Sarah enough to make Sarah feel comfortable with flipping and going against Debbie. So my 2 that I had were Cerie and Sarah, but I gave a small edge to Sarah for 1, taking out Debbie, who you can't work with, having a good enough social relationship with Aubrey for Aubrey to come tell you about it, and finding the secret advantage that was supposed to be Michaela's. So slight edge to Sarah over Cerie, but I'm not mad at the Aubrey pick. I'm glad you made me think about that.
I give it to Sarah. The biggest thing for me was the secret advantage and just being... This is the first time it's ever happened, so good on her for noticing it. You could say it's out in the open, but literally no one else saw it. So like good on her for doing it in a way that people don't notice. And then obviously getting the vote turned around. I think that, like I said, this is a big turning point in the game, and she made probably the correct read that these people were working with her, but not really taking her voice and her opinion too seriously in those conversations. So I think that it was a good move for her to go and take out Debbie too.
Derek, who do you got for worst player?
Yeah, I've got it. Michaela. 1 for pouting. 2 for not seeing the secret advantage. 3 for being difficult to live with by way of other people. And 4, Debbie was one of the only people she could beat. It's Michaela by a landslide.
I It's technically Michaela. I'm not going to say it's a landslide. It's just because I don't really have anyone else to give it to. I'm not going to be that hard on her about the advantage because this is the first time that it's ever happened. And I do think the line of sight did not come across on camera the way that it probably did in real life. So I'm going to almost give her a complete pass on that. There's an argument for, what she has done up until this point and not being able to beat Debbie. A lot of that is how she has played the game up until this point and not necessarily like, hey, let's blow up all the relationships I've made up to this point and just blindside people and take this vote into my own hands, vote out Debbie, and then have to pick up the pieces after this. I think that that'd be a very reckless thing to do. That would make it difficult to still win the game. I am still gonna give it to Michaela, but only because I don't have a better option.
She's got one relationship in this game. It's with Suri.
You just said she had one with Andrea.
They have an alliance, not a relationship.
Okay, good enough.
Go make a new alliance. No,
so make an alliance with Brad.
Maybe not Brad, but maybe like Debbie and Ty. The three of them need to work together. It's Michaela by a landslide. I agree with everything Derek said.
I don't care.
Sucks to suck. Majority rules.
It would be an interesting game though if Michaela saves Debbie, and then Debbie, Ty, and Michaela form the unholy trinity and turn around to run the game as basically a Kasaya 2.0.
Look, if you have a 0% chance to win, a 0.1% chance to win the game, you need to take the 0.1.
Roll the dice.
Episode 9, reinventing how this game is played. Andrea, Aubrey, Brad, Sarah, and Zeke are going to win reward, and while they're there, Brad and Zeke are really going to bond over football. So Andrea and Aubrey are even more wary of Zeke. They're like, is he going to join up with Brad and make a football alliance? But, good for Brad. Brad needs some more connections after losing Debbie here.
Boomer. Skull. Wait, what? It doesn't quite work as well without Chris, but...
Andrea, Suri, and Aubrey, they're like, okay, time to take out Zeke. But we need to convince Sarah to come on board because they're super tight. So Suri and Sarah are going to talk. And Sarah says, I trust Zeke. I don't want to get rid of him. And to calm Suri down, she tells her about her vote steal to prove trust. Bad. Bad. You don't need to prove trust by telling somebody about your advantage. There's other ways to do it. I don't like that for Sarah at all.
It works.
Temporarily.
This is a tough one for me because Suri's a seasoned veteran, and I mean she was already great at this stuff before she was a seasoned Survivor/reality TV veteran. I think when you make proclamations or when you offer up information like this, it does make a difference. It does show that you want to work with somebody long term. I don't know that this is the time. I don't think Sarah should try and save Zeke so hard by divulging this information. So I don't mind the move to do it, but this is not the time to use this to do that, in my opinion. So good thought, but not to save Zeke.
I think you can save Zeke, and I get why she wants to. It's her number one ally.
Right. Yep.
But she doesn't have to say anything about the advantage. She can do without it. So Sarah and Zeke talk, and they consider maybe making an alliance with Brad, Troyzan, and Michaela, make a Final Five deal. That's a pretty good Final Five for Sarah, especially. But that's not going to end up happening, because Andrea's going to win immunity, and she's going to push hard for Zeke. She's kind of going to go in and insist that Zeke goes home instead of Sierra, because Sierra's going to come and pledge her loyalty to Andrea and Suri. Swear loyalty on her knees, basically.
Which is just a giant flip.
Yeah. I mean, hey, desperate times. Aubrey also wants Zeke out, but Michaela and Sarah, they're going to say they're on board. But neither of them want to get rid of Zeke because Sarah is obviously very close. Michaela does have that, like, they were on the same season. They're not close, I would say, but like they were on the same season together. So there's something there. They're like, this is dumb. Why would we do this? Let's get rid of Sierra. I'm kind of with them.
Yeah. Andrea really has tunnel vision here.
Yes.
And it does not help that she won immunity. And it's like, cool, there's no harm that can come from this because I'm completely immune. Who cares about future episodes? We're just thinking about this one right here. which can work, but like what comes next?
And she's right that Zeke will come after her at some point. But yeah, again, like that doesn't mean you need to push this hard for that.
Oh, I mean, and I need to pause you there. Zeke has already come after her twice. So I understand that it might not make a ton of sense on paper. Andrea has the necklace, and on a season where things are, as I think Zeke will say later on, the deck has been reshuffled and keeps reshuffling many times over. If Zeke goes home, cool. Someone who clearly has it out for Andrea. And he has a good read. Mm-hmm. He's got a good read. Andrea's got to go. But if you're Andrea, like, no, that I'm done. I'm done with this. I cannot work with him. He's lying. He wants me out. I don't mind that she's pushing.
Yeah.
This is the time to push.
It's not so bad on Andrea that she's pushing this. Let's get into the vote.
Yeah. Let's do that.
So it's going to be 5 votes for Zeke. And basically they kind of trick the old power alliance into voting for each other. 3 votes Ty, 2 votes Sierra. So the girls come up the middle and take out Zeke. Brad, Sierra, Ty, and Troyzan were all tricked into voting for one another, which was kind of funny.
No, it's not funny. It's great gameplay.
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant because it makes the relationship between them a little more broken because they voted for each other.
I'll say a lot more broken.
It's also hilarious. It's both.
Yeah. It can be both. It can be both.
It's funny and good gameplay.
Well, because it's this power group, like I said, like just last episode, that they were going to be a really tight 6, and one thing didn't go their way. Now there's this 4 technically, because it's like, well, we're not going to consider Sarah a part of this anymore. So there's really only 4 of them. It's like, now we're just in desperate, try to stay alive mode, and we'll vote for anyone when that's not even, that's just a big old whoop-de-wop over there. That's not actually happening. So this other group gets their cake and eats it too, by just having all this other stuff going on and have people turn on each other completely unnecessarily. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. But I gotta say, I don't think this is the right move because Sarah and Michaela could have flipped here. They didn't have to go along with this, and they shouldn't have. That is an avenue, a relationship they both have and can work with. So they could have flipped their votes onto Sierra and taken her out. Or just flipped entirely and joined that other group, which I think wouldn't have been a bad move either, because Michaela needs Ty, she needs Troyzan. They could flip entirely. This might be the time to build that relationship and find 2 people she can go to the end with. That's an option too. Maybe take out someone like Aubrey. I think Sierra was probably the best move. That's probably what I would go with to break her, Brad, and Troyzan up. But I really think Michaela should have flipped here like permanently, just to have a chance.
I understand Michaela maybe wants to take out Sierra, but for Sarah, this doesn't make sense. I think Sarah has had the conversations that we're not going to be voting you guys out. You guys are going to be voting out Ty. Okay, cool. So as long as Sierra, Troyzan, and Brad all stay, they can't be too angry if they got tricked into voting out Ty. Like, they can be mad that they were lied to, but the Power 6 turned on themselves and we're all still here. So it's only a promise half broken. And then she still retains trust and goodwill with Suri and Andrea, who are all still left in the game. And again, Zeke was targeting the Alliance from within, so she's not going to fall on her sword for Zeke. She shouldn't fall on the sword for Zeke. I think this would be a really bad move for Sarah. Michaela, you need to find someone that you can beat. She can't beat Zeke. So Michaela's in a tricky spot. I wouldn't care if she did it, but like, you need friends and your only friend is Suri, so probably go with Suri. Her position's a weird one, but I think the right thing happened here.
Don't listen to Derek. He's very wrong.
I don't think I am. I think Josh agrees with me.
Sarah should not vote for Zeke.
This was one of the most difficult episodes to actually like break down and analyze. I actually didn't have anything written down for best or worst, just to kind of like spoil that, just because I'm like, I don't even know if this is the right move. If it's the right move, then sure, I can give it to Andrea. But if it, maybe she just got way too focused in on this and this was actually bad on her part, because now it's just like, okay, well, there's Andrea as the biggest threat in the game now, and everyone's going to come for her. So I really don't know. It's so hard to know here. So
I can just look at specific people who were in this like majority vote, the 5 who voted for Zeke specifically, and look at those 5, and for 2 of them, this is bad. Therefore, this is not the right move.
We're gonna disagree on this.
Michaela has to go the other way, and Sarah's gonna lose her closest ally by going this way.
But Sarah has many allies.
True, but this is her number one.
You have to lose him eventually, and he was being sneaky.
Yes.
Zeke was being sneaky,
Yes.
and in this episode, it wasn't just all housed in previous episodes. He's still doing it.
Yes. But that doesn't mean she needs to turn on him here.
Yes, it does.
No, it absolutely does not. Wrong.
It
I
does.
really don't like the idea of going back to this other group that has still been really tight and just kind of revitalizing it and giving them space to breathe. And if you go back to them and they're all going to be together, that's going to be a tough group to then break up in, a few votes from now.
Reminder that Zeke was willing to work with that trio to achieve his ends as well. So getting rid of Zeke is, in a way, taking power away from the trio. Not directly, because I know you need to break them up eventually, but Zeke is actively here trying to pull shenanigans still. I don't mind cutting the X Factor.
I do think that it would have made more sense for someone like a Sierra to go, but there's this entire other thing that's going on with how laser focused Andrea is, and if that is happening, okay, it's almost like a different decision of how do you misdirect that to a different spot without hurting that relationship now. Sometimes, because I don't think this is a great move for Andrea overall. Yeah, you get Zeke out, but if she is just so dead set on this happening, sometimes you just have to let it happen.
I just want to rewind the clock a little bit here. Sarah and Zeke talked early in the episode with Brad and Troyzan and Michaela about making a Final Five deal. That was an option. That could have happened here. You have those five, and then you bring in Ty. You can cut whoever you want at that point, and that is ideal for Troyzan, for Ty, for Michaela. Brad just needs somewhere to go. He's desperate, and Sarah and Zeke will stay in the game. That is a perfect group right there.
I get that, but that's a Final Five where you finish fifth.
For who?
Sarah or Zeke, one of the two.
You don't have to go all the way with it, but for now, that is a great group.
And the other problem is Sierra, Brad, and Troyzan. I don't care what Final Five deal was struck. That three was never breaking up.
Well, okay, fine. Vote at Sierra then. And then this five can come together.
Look, I just know that we have different philosophies on this, and I think best and worst player just needs to we need to come up on this.
Josh, who's your best player?
Wow, great, a decision that I haven't come to yet.
Hey, it's a rotation.
I know. I don't like it. I'm gonna go Andrea just because she is the person who benefits the most from this, even though I don't like the way she did it. I don't like the execution of it. She was way too laser focused in on it. But Zeke was going for her, which was, again, a wrong move, but you can't help that someone else made a bad move to try to take you out. You just have to respond.
I agree with Josh. I'm going the same way. Plus, she won immunity. She got her way. Again, don't love her how she did it, but it was effective.
I'm giving it to Andrea as well. Zeke came for you more than once.
Yeah.
He's got to go. Zeke was right to come for you, but that doesn't mean that he still doesn't have to go. And let's just not forget, the minority grouping here all voted for Ty, which does fracture their ability to rally in the future as well, in what is a funny 3 votes for Ty, very small plurality vote here. So also very funny, very well executed by the Alliance in Power. If you're going to fracture and vote out one of your numbers, one of your own, this is the way and time to do it.
Truth, very true. For worst player, I'm going to get mine to Sarah. I don't like that she told Suri about her vote steal and she voted out her closest ally.
For my worst, believe it or not, I landed on NA, because despite the hilarious antics that occurred with the Minority Alliance all voting for Ty and that severing, it's still smart for them to understand that they are in a position where they didn't have power at this particular moment, and to just vote for the person that they feel like they can't work with going forward. So I think everybody did what they were supposed to do in this instance. You could make an argument for Michaela, but she did not worsen her position in the game. She was already last on the pecking order and nowhere to move with Andrea forcing the Zeke situation forward. So I landed on NA.
Wow.
Gosh, I don't know.
And I also had a note next to NA saying that Zeke was sneaky and he deserved it.
True.
I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. I'm not saying that.
I really don't know. I want to pick someone in that minority group because I don't think it's Sarah. I don't think it's Sarah just because of I think she knew that she would have to cut Zeke eventually. It wasn't in the edit, but I know that you just mentioned an episode or two ago the fact that, Zeke came to her and said, like, when you need to cut me, I'm not going to use that as a reason since it wasn't in the edit. But at the same time, if he's your closest ally, he can also be a champion for you on the jury, which he's going to be.
True.
So I think it should be one of those that turned on each other and just looked ridiculous in the process. I think I'll go with the person who got votes then. I think it'll be Ty then.
Okay.
I respect that.
That's fine. Josh, you lost your winner pick, though.
Yeah.
Who did you move on to?
I moved on to Sarah here. Andrea, yes, it seems like she's a big threat, but I just really did not like this episode from her. And again, not really her fault. It's more Zeke's fault, and she just reacted to it. But at the same time, I think that she's going to be target number one going forward. I don't like how the group all turned on each other with Brad, Sierra, Ty, and them. Sarah is going to have a tricky path to the end, but she's playing the middle very well and at least has the ability to have open options. And I just don't think that they're going to let Suri get to the end because it's Suri. Why would you let her get past, like 8? So I'm going Sarah.
Okay. Congrats.
Yeah.
You and Derek are equals.
Yeah, totally equal, completely.
I tried to do that in the least biased way possible.
That's all we can do on these rewinds.
Yep.
We're trying, folks.
Episode 10, it is not a high without a low. The majority alliance wants to split up Brad and Sierra next because they're super tight. Makes sense. And Sarah wants to take out Brad. A, he's pretty good in these challenges. B, Sierra's going to tell Sarah about the legacy advantage.
I'm sure this will work out fine. It's
remember
okay.
remember what I said about like Sarah telling Serene about her advantage? That is completely different than telling somebody about a legacy advantage.
There's no reason to ever tell anyone about a legacy advantage.
This is a sandwich justice situation. You are incentivizing people to vote you out to give themselves more power. You don't do this.
Yeah, this was bad, and it's gonna lead to this being on Ghost Island.
Fair.
Sarah says, like, we'll use it together. But if I get voted out, I'll give it to you. Oh, you will you? Well, then, don't mind if I do.
If I vote you out, I get an idol. Hot dog, what a deal.
If I get my alliance who doesn't want to work with you to vote you out and I don't vote for you, you'll give me your legacy advantage? And all I have to do is look shocked?
But to be fair, at first, Sarah's like, well, now I want to work with her. She's telling me stuff. So, like, at first, like, yeah, okay. And then, like, you start thinking about it and the shock wears off a little bit. Like, wait a second.
Wait a minute. There's something else here.
Is there a way to use the legacy advantage? Like, as a tool? Like anyway?
Yeah, as an idol at 13 and 6.
Yep. And you tell no one.
No, like, hey, I have this legacy advantage. And, if I give it to you, or like I'll give it to you, but only if I last, this long. Otherwise, I'm going to give it to, I don't know, your biggest enemy. I don't know. Use it as a weapon.
Yeah, maybe if you're on the bottom and you're like the last person standing at like the final 8 or whatever, and you can be like, I'm going to give this to so-and-so, and I wouldn't get rid of me.
Challenge. I'm going to give this to Brad, and, if he doesn't win 5 straight immunities or whatever it is, he's going to have the idol as backup, and you'll all be screwed.
Yeah, these are all dire straits situation. Yeah. I think if a tribal goes live and you want to make sure that the vote doesn't fall on you, be like, I will give this to the person you guys don't want to have it if you vote me out now, and I will burn it when we get back to camp if I survive. Ooh. But it's only Hail Mary stuff. I can't even dream up the scenario where I'm telling people about this one.
Burning an advantage? Who are you, Brad Culpepper?
Yes. Hashtag Game Changer Brad Culpepper.
So we're going to get the Loved Ones Reward Challenge. Monica Culpepper's here.
Mm-hmm.
And future Big Brother contestant Jared Fields, Cerie's son.
Oh,
I love it. Yeah, they were on Big Brother together. But Brad, Aubrey, and Andrea win. And Michaela's going to throw a temper tantrum about it. And they get to bring 2 people with as well with their loved ones. They pick Cerie and Sarah. I would sub out Cerie for Michaela. You need to make her feel safe. Clearly, she's on the bottom. Aubrey and Andrew are the ones who make the pick. You have Cerie. You need to keep Michaela feeling okay. So, yeah, I think this was a bad call.
And Cerie's enough of a seasoned vet to understand the game and be like, man, that sucks. I get it, though.
Moving on.
Well, the other problem, though, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, if you let Cerie go back to camp with a bunch of unhappy people who didn't get to see their loved ones, do you want to know who can make magic out of that? Cerie.
but still.
I get your point. I think you're right, but I just want to like throw it out there. Not bringing Suri on this. She is going to cause trouble.
That's why it was smart on production to make this a team challenge.
Yeah.
Because you can't, it's hard to throw a team loved ones visit challenge.
Yeah. Don't win the loved ones visit unless it's a team challenge,
Yeah.
and then you don't really have a choice.
Or you're on the bottom.
Yeah, or you're on the bottom.
So Michaela and Ty, they're both kind of pissed. They're both on the outs. They feel like they're going to make an alliance. And they're going to talk with Troy, Zane, and Sierra about joining them to take out Andrea. Uh-oh. Good job, Andrea.
Oh, no.
Brad's going to win immunity, and that may have saved him. I don't know for sure if he would have been going over Sierra tonight, but it's certainly possible. So Brad may have saved himself here. Michaela and Ty, they're like, you know what? We're going to flip. We're going to take out Andrea. Let's do this. They tell Sierra that Andrea is targeting her, but to like play it cool. Andrew's going home. We're all good. But Sarah has decided she wants Sierra out now. She wants the legacy advantage. So she tells Sierra she's with her, and her plan is to somehow get Sierra voted out and pretend like she wasn't in on it, so Sierra will then will her the legacy advantage. It's a very fine line to walk. And the fact that she pulls this off is incredible, and the fact that this is what saves her game at the final six is you couldn't write this. You could not write this. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's as far as this move, I'm not going to jump ahead really yet as far as like, was this the right move or anything? But the timing is really tricky because how do you get this person out with them knowing it was because they told you about it and told you that they were going to give it to you? To me, I would not go and make sure that they were the first person out after they told me. I would wait a vote. I would go for Brad, if eligible, and then go for Sierra next time, or, go for Ty or any Andrea. Who cares? Whoever it is, and then get Sierra the next time. I would not try to pull this off.
Sierra and Sarah are talking about this, and Sierra spills that Michaela and Ty are on board to take out Andrea, and Sierra's like, oh, what? Like, squeeze me? So she's going to go to Michaela and be like, hey, Sierra's got this legacy advantage. We got to take her out, so don't join forces with her. You and Ty, come with me. We're gonna take her out tonight, and then this is what is gonna work, and Michaela and Ty are gonna jump on board with this. But yeah, it was almost Andrea here. Tribal Council, it's going to be 6 votes for Sierra, 3 votes for Andrea. Sarah's going to act very shocked, which Andrea and Aubrey both notice. Like, why are you shocked? But it does work. Sierra does give Sarah the legacy advantage. Sarah is playing with fire on this one. I cannot believe this worked.
But I love it, because who are the 3 votes for Andrea? And is it Sierra, Troyzan, and Brad?
Yes.
Well, is there enough plausible deniability? Oh, did Troyzan vote for me? I'm going to still will this to Sarah. Like you said, she is playing with fire, and I kind of love it.
Playing like a criminal. I do think this was the wrong move. I think Michaela and Ty should flip and take out Andrea.
I'm going to say it's not the right move just because there's no reason why this should work. Sarah should not be trying to make this happen because it's such a risky situation, because this is very new information that you just got, and it should be obvious to Sierra that is why she's going home. I guess I'll say it was the right move just because it ends up working out. So maybe Sarah just had a really good read on it. So I'm going to reluctantly say yes, but it is not very strong. I think in a normal world, it should probably be someone like Andrea.
I think this comes down to, weirdly enough, jury makeup. Who do you think is going to vote for who? Do we agree with Ryan's rank downs? I did not make a separate dank down, but I'll tell you something. Andrea's really high up the list.
Top 3 for sure.
I actually, my top 3 are Suri, number 1 overall, and I think it's actually by a country mile. And then I've got Andrea at number 2. And after that, is it Sarah? Is it Sierra? Is it Brad? I'm not exactly sure at that point, but to me, it's Suri, Andrea, 1 and 2.
I think that's probably right.
So Andrea going home and Andrea being a certified challenge threat across the board. She's already won 2 individual immunities. She does need to go. I think Andrea would have been the right move for the most number of people here. And I think it may have even been a better move for Sarah, but she's going to get what she wants. So like, congrats, I guess. But I almost have to leave this one to the players.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to be results oriented with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Since
tricky.
it works out.
It works out so well. It saves her game, literally.
Yes.
So yeah, it's hard to say. It is really hard to say. I'll just give props to Sarah for making it work.
But I don't want to say it saves her, I don't want to say it saves her game just because that implies that, if Sierra would have gone out in 2 votes, that her game still wouldn't have been saved that way. This isn't the only time where her game could be saved.
True. Very true. Derek, who do you got for best player?
So I'm giving it to Sarah because she did get exactly what she wanted, but it started with her social game. And this is something, again, the edit is a little choppy, but you get bits and pieces here that everyone feels like Sarah is their best friend. And she's going to wield this as a weapon, like a criminal would, to end up with a legacy advantage in her pocket. Got, I think, Michaela and Ty to vote against their best interests in what would have been a decent idea to take out Andrea. And again, Andrea is a better move for, I think, everybody at this point in the game than Sierra, even if there is still a trio lurking out there. So I don't want to undersell that, but I still think Andrea would have been a better move overall. But Sarah, because she benefits the most.
I'm going to go with Sarah and be pretty result oriented with it. It feels a lot like, Tony, where it's like, yeah, Tony's the best player this season. And, 'cause he had just such an amazing game, but don't try to be Tony. Don't try to do this because it's probably not going to work. She's probably going to find out that you were the one that voted her out and give the legacy advantage to someone else, or it's going to blow up in your face, or, what else might happen. But it all works. And you can't deny the results of it. So I'm going to give her the best player of the episode.
I agree with everything you guys said. Worst player, Josh, who do you got?
Again, this was another weird one where it was everyone just kind of mostly seemed to be either on the right page, or I would probably make ineligible. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go Troyzan here, which just feels weird. One, I think he's pretty close to the bottom of the list of people who can win this game. He was out of the vote, and the other person who was out of the vote won immunity for himself in Brad. So it's kind of just Troyzan by default. Also, we haven't really talked about him much, and he's not really playing much of a game right now. So we need to, let people know that he's still here.
Okay, I can respect that. I gave mine to Ty. I think he and Michaela should have flipped on Andrea, and I think it hurts them that they didn't, but I think it hurts him slightly more than Michaela, because at least Michaela and Andrea have had a working relationship where Ty hasn't really. So just not mention Michaela, but I gave mine to Ty.
Yeah, I'm gonna side with Ryan on this one. I'm gonna be the tiebreaker. The tiebreaker. I know that everybody voted for you, Ty, but we have to, on Survivor, recognize when a vote is out of desperation and be able to separate that out. You're still a block of 4 that could use each other, but doing this and doing it in a fairly sneaky, underhanded way where you're collaborating with the other side and very Cochran-y, his first game, this flip doesn't make a lot of sense for you because it does leave you with no options. You could have said, guys, I know you voted for me, but we just need to move past that. We're still a group of 4. Let's try and make something happen. Let's go for Andrea. Because then all you need to do is flip Michaela. And maybe that's all it would have taken. So I have Ty. I don't blame him for voting out someone who voted for him, but that was a desperation vote. He's got to be more forward-thinking than that.
Ryan, who wins in a final 3 of Troyzan, Ty, and Michaela?
That is a great question, because that is my bottom 3 at this point. It comes down to Troyzan and Ty. And boy, oh boy, is that tough.
because I think there's a gap. I think it's those 3, and then I think there's a pretty big gap.
Yep.
So that makes it, from the outside looking in, really obvious what they should be doing.
Yep.
But curious.
Yeah, it's really tough because Troyzan doesn't make any moves, but everyone likes him. Ty, people get frustrated with, and his moves don't always make sense, but he's making them. So what is the jury going to value more? Someone who tried or someone who didn't? Someone who's likable, someone who's annoying? I don't know the answer. Game Changers is kind of weird, so maybe I lean Ty just because you want to try and change things up, but I could see him giving his final tribal council speech and just blowing it. Troyzan or Ty? I don't think anyone's voting for Michaela except maybe Suri.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a tricky one for sure.
I think Troyzan. I don't know why.
It could be.
That is a feeling in my gut that it would be Troyzan.
Could very well be. So, I don't know. But guys, what I do know is I lost my winner pick. Again. But there's one left in my original 3, my original plan, and she's playing well. She just got herself a legacy advantage. I moved on to Sarah, therefore I am just as smart as Derek. I did it.
And Josh.
Yeah, Josh did it too. Yeah, Josh, we did it. We're just as smart as Derek.
We're on equal footing, all of us.
We're the same.
Look at us.
Look at us. We nailed it. We all got our winner pick right. Episode 11, Parting is Such Sweet Sorrow. This is a regular 40-minute episode, but we're going to get 2 boots here, so this will be kind of rapid fire. Andrea and Aubrey are going to tell Suri and Michaela about how confused Sarah looked at tribal council, and that they're wondering, is she pandering to Sierra to get her a jury vote or something? And it makes them kind of should we take her out? At some point, for sure you should. But Suri wants to take Sarah to the end because she thinks she can beat her. Because what we haven't really seen a ton of is Sarah has cut so many people's throats. She's close with virtually everybody, and her betrayals are brutal. Suri thinks she gets to end with her, everyone will be pissed at Sarah. Suri wins. And I do think Suri would win in that case. So I don't think she's wrong.
This is a good read by Suri. Suri needs to find her way to the end. If Suri can get to the end, she wins. And I think she knows that.
Yep.
And it's amazing that her name has just not been coming up at all.
She doesn't get, I don't think she gets a single vote all season.
She doesn't.
Which is insanity. Aubrey wins immunity. First immunity ever for Aubrey, so good for her. So Andrea kind of wants to take out Sarah here. But Aubrey wants Brad out instead. And Andrea, she's still kind of pushing for Sarah again, but she doesn't have immunity this time to do this. So Suri's getting kind of Andrea's kind of pushy. Maybe we should take her out. Cut to tribal council where we skip almost all the strategy in this first half. There's very little. We just go right to it. It's 6 votes Andrea, 2 votes Brad. Aubrey being left out of the vote. I think this is the right move. I think Andrea is probably... Maybe Suri can beat her in the final 2, but Andrea's also a challenge threat, so she's probably overall the biggest threat left in the game when we're at the final 8. I can't blame anyone for taking her out, so I'm on board with this move.
Andrea is a smart and capable player. If you're Suri, you have to know, I need to get her out before she gets me out. She knows she can't beat me. I know she can't beat me. It's not a secret. So if everyone's looking for a reason, I think this is as good a time as any. More importantly, though, I want to touch on the Brad factor, because I'm pretty sure after this, spoiler, he's going to win out.
Yep.
There's never going to be another chance to take out Brad. So why don't they do it here? And this is where I think the edit is not doing us any favors. I feel like many people already knew that Brad was not going to be winning. We got a comment at Final Tribal, or maybe it was with Ty before the end, that he wasn't connecting with people that he was not working with.
Yep.
So this is a shortfall in Brad's game where if you're wondering, well, why don't they get him out when he's available? You know, he was in this power position and then he got dethroned at the beginning of the merge, by the way. And now he might go on an immunity spree. Well, that's fine. We don't care. We're not validating his game. So I just want to point that out to the audience. Brad, I don't think, was viewed as that big of a threat anymore by the players left in the game.
He could still win depending on the makeup.
Yes, he can still win.
There's people he can beat, but yeah, I agree. He kind of has what I think about Parvati, where if you're in an alliance with them, it's pretty great. If you're not, there's not much of a connection there. So I think that's a big weakness is Brad's game. Obviously he does not get along with Michaela, but for some of the other people he's not in alliance with, he needed to work harder at making those connections with them. Got to be nice to everyone on Survivor generally. But yeah, I think that's a very, very good read there, Derek.
Yeah, I don't think I chimed in, but I thought that this was the right move.
Okay, best player, I'm going to give mine to Suri. She instigated this vote to take out Andrea.
Yep, Suri got Andrea before Andrea could get her.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Suri with all the information we have.
Tons and tons of information. How about worst player?
So I know she won immunity, but I gave it to Aubrey because she wins immunity. She tries to pull an Andrea like, all right, I have the necklace. I have the power. And Surya being like, that's adorable. You go vote for Brad. Oops. So I have Aubrey.
I thought of doing that, but I think that there's enough value in getting your first immunity. Like going from 0 to 1, I think is very valuable in the game of Survivor, and just, the outplay, as we'll get to, portion of the game. Now if this was her second one of the season, maybe not, but I think 0 to 1 is a very valuable notch in someone's resume. So I'm not going to give it to her. I gave it to Michaela. Again, not a whole lot here. Michaela just wasn't doing a whole lot and being a really good player. So I don't have much else other than that. The one thing that I have with Michaela, and it's very minor, but it's something at least, is when Brad was on the chopping block, or one of the people being talked about, she went up to him and just said, if you want to stay in this game, go catch fish. Brad's like, are you blackmailing me? Like, I'm not gonna let this person blackmail me. And I'm just like, when would that be a good time to say that to someone? Like,
Yeah,
let alone
that's
Brad
good.
Culpepper.
But you want to talk about like an inter-season thing that's really funny when it gets tied in a bow. Later, Brad Culpepper is going to say, "Give me your idol, or you lose the game." Brad should remember how he feels when someone walks up to him and demands that he do a thing.
Yep.
This is not saying anything about Brad.
No, I know.
Michaela.
No, I know. But when that you brought it up, I was like, no, this was a funny connection that happens in the next couple episodes.
For my worst player, I agreed with Derek. I have Aubrey. She was left with the vote, even though she won immunity. She was seen as being too close to Andrea and possibly scheming against Sarah, so she was left out, so that she's my worst. All right, second half. Ty is going to try and like comfort Aubrey after the vote, and he's going to try and use this opportunity where she was left out to try and bring her over, and then they have that co-wrong connection, so it's a good try, Ty.
Mm-hmm.
Brad's going immunity, comes off as a bit of a hothead, I will say, but, he's safe, and he will be safe for the rest of the game. But Aubrey and Ty, they're going to discuss a big move they can make, and that move is taking out Sarah. Ty says, Sarah's like the biggest threat in the game. We should take her out. True!
Not true.
I mean, not true. It's Suri.
It's her and Suri, but Suri's not going to any challenges ever. So you could kind of take her out whenever.
I want to be careful about this because we just said this about Andrea. It's like, okay, well, it's Andrea and Suri. Let's go for Andrea first because she's more threatening to win challenges. Cool. Andrea's gone. All right, now, let's take out Suri. Well, no, but Sarah can win more challenges, so we should take out Sarah. Okay, cool. Bye, Sarah. Oh, now we should take out Suri. Oh, well, Brad could win a lot of challenges, so we should probably take out Brad. Like, it can just keep going if you're not careful about it.
So you're seeing why Suri's game is so dangerous.
Yes. Andrea, Sarah, Suri. That's the correct order probably to take them out.
I disagree. I think it's Andrea, then Suri, then Sarah, but...
The reason I think they're going for Sarah is because they know they can get Suri on board with that. They are not convinced that they can get Sarah, Brad, and Troyzan to do anything. That's why I think they're doing what they're doing.
Well, none of it matters because Aubrey's immediately going to rat out Ty to Suri, who tells Sarah. Aubrey was never on board with this. But I do think Ty has a really great point that Sarah's a huge threat.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah does not think that Ty would turn on her. She's wrong, but she doesn't believe it. So she is so confident that she wants Suri to like, hey, stay the course. We're going to do what we're going to do. I'm going to give you my vote seal to hold on to. Like, this is the level of trust. If I go out of the game, you have it, even though it's non-transferable.
Non-transferable.
There's some stuff that isn't shown here, which we'll get into in a second. So she's going to give her the vote steal and say, like, hey, just trust me, we'll go with this. I will take the gamble. What is not shown, she was not given the vote steal until they were leaving for tribal council, so he never had an opportunity to read it, which was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So she wouldn't see the non-transferable part.
It's good gameplay.
Great gameplay, and there's more. We'll get to it at tribal council once we get there. Suri has an idea. And man, oh man, if this had worked, this would have been just the stuff of legends.
This is the kind of thing that Suri would do. I mean, again, pioneer of the 3-2-1. Come on now.
She plots with Michaela to steal Sarah's vote, use the vote steal against her, to vote out Ty, to prove a point, to save Sarah. So Suri's going to go to Ty and tell him about the vote steal and say she's going to play it to try and make him comfortable. And says, Ty, you're the target. You're going home tonight. I'm going to use it. I'm going to play it on Sarah to save you. Just to make sure he doesn't play like an idol if he's got one. Because remember, he's got two.
And one thing that I got lost on, so I was actually relying on Ryan to be my my encyclopedia here. Who is Sarah targeting prior to the tribal council?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's really up in the air.
Like, is it Aubrey? Is it Troyzan? What is going on?
Yeah, it's unclear, honestly. It's really unclear because we're going to end up getting a live tribal tonight and everything goes out the window. Pure chaos. Great question.
So
I don't have an answer for you.
So Sarah Lucina, big fan of the podcast. If we haven't lost you yet, who were you targeting? Was it always Michaela and Suri just gave you the world's biggest out? Or what was going on here?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe it was Aubrey. I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been Aubrey.
So we're going to get to tribal council. And Suri is going to try to play the votes to steal. Chaos ensues. This went on for way longer than we saw. Production was going to let Suri play it until Troyzan is like, well, what does the note actually say? It says non-transferable. You can't transfer that. So Troyzan was the one who put a stop to all this.
And then Jeff jumps in like, why don't you read it?
Yeah. That's Troyzan saves the day. Then Jeff's like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, that's right. So, it's non-transferable. So, yeah, this Bad on production. And this goes to my theory that they will let stuff slide if it's interesting and no one calls them on their rules. I think they'll do it.
So every time we've told you, press on production a little bit. Play like it's your second time. Press on production a little bit.
Until someone brings up more like the ethicality of the game. So like once he says like, well, it's in the rules right there, it's like, okay, they'll put a stop to it at that point.
Yep. But remember, production, they're people. They can make mistakes. They're human. Suppress them.
Tip for Sarah Lucina. In a confessional with a producer, tell them your plan to give it to Suri, knowing full well it's non-transferable. Put it in a confessional that you're giving it to Suri because it's non-transferable. She can't play it. Because then there's video footage. If she does, gotta get that Stacy money.
Well, that's where I'm curious whether or not Sarah actually like had all that thought out ahead of time, or if she just kind of panicked in this moment. And like you said, there's a lot that we didn't see, but like in this moment, she's like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think she'd actually play it." And then she's like, "No, that's mine." And then she remembers like, "Wait, no, like that can't be transferred." I have no idea.
Can't be stolen. You know, maybe Troyzan shouldn't have said anything. Maybe he should have just kept his mouth shut and let him fight. Let's see what happens.
You know, unless Michaela was who they wanted. You know, it depends on what the ends were.
It depends, and we don't know.
We don't know.
Pure chaos. But basically, Suri cannot play this. Sarah gets to take it back. But they're going to paint it as Suri should have read the fine print. She didn't have a chance to read the fine print. There was never an opportunity. Unless she wanted to open it at Tribal Council and read it, but then why would she do that? So it's not as bad on Suri as the show makes it out to be.
But also, read if someone's going to give you their advantage and you're going to have the unmitigated gall, the audacity to play it while they've given it to you, probably make sure you've read it so you know what it is first.
Maybe don't make this move if you can't read this ahead of time.
Like, what if she pulls it out and it's an idle nullifier or something? Like, and I play this on Ty, I guess?
Yeah, so maybe don't make the move, but Suri did not have the opportunity to read it, really. Live tribal time, baby. Chaos.
It's wild that we never had live tribals before this season, and this is like the third or fourth one that we get.
I mean, like, we've had live tribals, but these are people standing up and moving around and talking. This kind. JT's really opened a can of worms here, and there's no going back, unfortunately. So Suri and Michaela, they're going to try to convince Sarah they were trying to use it to save her. And it's true. But no one in their right mind would believe that. That is the least believable thing I've ever heard in my life, even though that is the least believable true thing I think I've ever heard.
So, like, I was grandstanding for the jury by trying to steal your vote in order to save you because that would make for great TV courtroom drama. But she'd be like, why didn't you just steal Ty's vote? You know, so like, whoops.
It's a great question.
It was too cute, I think, is what my answer is to Suri.
Yeah, too clever by half.
Troyzan is gonna like inch in on their conversation, like stick his ear in, and Michaela's yelling at him to back up. He's like, "No, I'm not going anywhere. This is our travel council. I can stand here."
Well, and Derek, just as a quick reminder that she wouldn't have wanted to steal Ty's vote because she didn't want Ty to play an idol.
So Sarah is be like, you know what? Screw this. She protects herself by stealing Ty's vote, just in case. But Ty's not the target. She just controls his vote, basically, and makes sure he can't do anything sneaky with the votes. But her group, which is her, Brad, and Troyzan, she with her 2 votes, Brad and Troyzan all put their votes on Michaela. And they choose Michaela over Suri because Michaela's better at challenges, and it's Suri's tightest ally. So it defangs Suri.
There is a world where it should be Suri.
You could do that instead.
We're not at like final 12 here where you need to defang someone. Like, this person's a threat and you're taking out their closest ally. But why?
And Troyzan should be pushing for Suri because he needs Michaela to win to have a chance. So I think that was the wrong call. But yeah, this is absolutely madness. You know, you guys can work together, take out Suri. Maybe seize the opportunity to get everyone on board to vote out Sarah. That would have been a good thing to do, too. Michaela should not have been the one to go. Here's my point. No. In all this chaos of a live tribal, there are bigger names you could land on over Michaela. Michaela is beating nobody. Even in a surprise final 2, she loses. There's no reason to vote out Michaela here, especially for Troy's.
I agree that the wrong person went home. Michaela's not doing any damage. The only reason I can think of Michaela going here is that it was always Sarah's plan to go with Brad and Troyzan. Again, maybe some jury management, give them some false hope, cut them later. Maybe she thinks she can beat them anyway. And so they just stayed with the plan with all this chaos. Cool, I'm going to steal Ty's vote, and we're going to do exactly what we said we were going to do, take out Michaela. But with it being a live tribal, and with Cirie trying to humiliate you, and being vulnerable, and being the biggest threat left in the game, the correct answer, Cirie should have gone home here.
I could sign off on that one.
I think it's simple enough as that, when are you going to have I don't even want to say like an excuse, but like a good solid reason to take out a legend when that legend finally makes a mistake. Cirie hasn't really making any mistakes up until this point, I would say. This is a big one. And a lot of it isn't her fault, but it's a mistake nonetheless. Pull the trigger on it, get her out, and then just move forward.
So for best player, and one thing that isn't mentioned in all this chaos, his vote is stolen. Ty has 2 idols. He plays none. Guy's got nerves of steel, man. I cannot believe he does not play an idol here, but he somehow realizes he is not the target and makes it through. He gets 2 votes. It's 4 votes for Michaela, 2 Ty, 1 Aubrey. He gets through without playing one. So my best player is Ty. And here's why. I like that he pitched Sarah's name with Aubrey. He worked her hard to try and pull her over. It didn't work. But he put in the effort, and honestly, probably should have worked. He threw out Sarah's name, and he held on to his idols. I don't know how, I don't know why, but he did it.
Honestly, respect. I like, especially because I think Ty is a great person. I think he is just too nice for Survivor, and I think the way that he plays the game, people feel more betrayed and more hurt when he does the exact same thing that other people do. He finally voices that this season. Like, we don't hear that in Code Wrong, but we hear him say, like, they do the same thing I do, but I'm the worst person alive when I do it.
Yeah, it's very Dawn from Carrie Moen.
Yeah, very much so. So I like that you shouted him out like that. I'm still giving it to Sarah because she gave Cirie an advantage that she can't use, or that Cirie cannot use. So when Cirie tried to get too cute, it didn't work. And then she was able to use that plausible deniability in order to hurt Cirie. Sarah still has a good path to the end. If anyone can compete with Cirie with this particular jury, it is Sarah. Cirie still wins. It should have been Cirie, but I'm still going to give my best to Sarah.
Yeah, I don't really want to give Ty a whole lot of credit here just because I almost think that it wasn't a good move to not play an idol. Like, 'cause it should be him. Or not, I shouldn't say it should be him, but he should feel threatened enough and have an extra idol in his pocket to just play one. He doesn't. It works for him. I have no idea how. I almost also wanted to give it to Cirie here just because other than not being able to read the note, this would have been the most brilliant plan all the way through to execution, and I think it would have been amazing. I can't do it just for the results aspect of it. I'm going to give it to Sarah. I don't feel honestly really great about it, and I'm also going to work under the assumption that she knew that it was non-transferable and not able to be stolen ahead of time, which I feel like could be a pretty big asterisk there, but I'm going to make that assumption and be able to give it to her.
Derek, who do you got for worst player?
Well, for my worst, I have Cirie. Now, it would have been brilliant if it worked, but unfortunately, when you're operating on the level of trust that Cirie is, and assuming that this is exactly what Sarah says it is, you might run into trouble. She ran into trouble. I think she's played almost a perfect game to this point. No votes for her to this point. She should have been voted for, but now you're going to be, you'd think, public enemy number 1 for people still remaining in the game. That's not going to be the case, but there's no way she could have known that moving into the next vote. So I have Cirie as my worst. And I love you, Cirie, big fan of the podcast. Let us know if you agree.
I had Aubrey. I don't remember. I don't remember who she was talking to. Was it talking to Ty earlier in this episode?
Yep.
But I don't like that she went away with that original plan just because I have no idea where Aubrey stands in this game. I think she's closer to the bottom than she is to the top, and just going along with this plan to, I believe, was it to blindside Ty originally?
Yes.
Is what she wanted to happen, going into Tribal Council. I don't think that would have been good for her game. And the result, honestly, wasn't really great for her game either. There's a lot of big threats left in the game, and I don't think Aubrey is one of them. So, I'm just going to bypass Cirie just because I do still really like the idea of it and the intention behind it. It flopped on the execution really badly, but, I'm going to give her points for effort at least on this, and she's still somehow in this game as the biggest threat, and she probably should have been the one to go home. So it's a very not strong Aubrey here.
I'm gonna agree with Derek. I think it is Suri. Maybe don't do this move if you don't have all the information.
Is this the first time that she's ever won a Worst Player of the Episode award?
I don't know, but yeah, maybe not. I'd have to go back and check.
Yeah, maybe there's one where she went home where she's not eligible for it.
Sure.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to go check. But now that Michaela's gone, again, I always like to look at who are the bottom 3 people they should be aligned together. And obviously we had Troyzan and Ty there. I'm now going to slide Aubrey into the 3rd spot. I think she would win, but she just hasn't really had the opportunity to do anything because no one has let her get her footing in this game. But she's trying. People seem to like her enough. So I think that's more than Troyzan and Ty at this point. Finale time, final 6. No good deed goes unpunished. Sarah is pissed. She's so mad. At first it's Suri. Suri is going to say, I was trying to stop Ty from voting you out. He threw out your name. And eventually Ty is going to admit that he did. No, Ty, why? You had it, man. You didn't have to say anything. You could have just been like, no, your name was thrown out, but I did not throw out your name.
Man, he's too nice for Survivor. You got to be like T-Bird. Just let Sarah explode.
Yep. So Sarah apologizes to Suri and then gets mad at Ty instead.
And Sarah is still upset with Suri, but it's more so just like, I'm sorry I didn't believe you, at least. I still don't agree with what you did.
I wanted to use that vote steal. But yeah, now Ty is public enemy number 1. No one trusts him. Everyone's mad. I feel so bad for him, dude.
And if he didn't already before this point, this is where Ty loses the game.
Yeah, likely. Yeah, if we have a surprise final 2, it might be Troyzan at this point.
It's so funny to think about because I'm not even sure that Troyzan and Brad were mad at Ty, but they're just like, yeah, boo Ty.
Brad's been mad at Ty for a while. Troyzan, I don't think he is.
But like, why is Brad mad at Ty?
Brad needs a Snickers.
Because he needs a Snickers.
I think the game is very much getting to Brad.
Yes.
The next day, Ty is going to tell Brad, hey, I have 2 idols. Dang it, Ty, please stop. Stop doing this. You don't need to tell anybody about your 2 idols. And Brad's like, oh, cool. I could throw Ty right under the bus.
Yeet.
You know, I'm not upset with him sharing that he has 2 idols. Maybe don't share with Brad, because with Ty, and I will say with idols just in general, I think this has actually come up in the last like season or 2 in the new era. But it's more so like, okay, congrats, you got an idol. It's more so what you do with it. Can you make a big move with that idol? Whether it's, using it at the perfect time to negate a bunch of votes, using it to persuade someone or blindside someone else, whatever it might be. So in Ty's position, having 2 idols, is there a move that he can make with those that isn't just, hey, play an idol at 6, hey, play an idol at 5? Because that's the boring way to approach it. That probably isn't going to get you a whole lot of points from the jury.
True, but yeah, you don't need to tell Brad about it.
By the way, I think the answer is you keep them. If people think you're public enemy number 1 and they all vote for you, at least bring in Aubrey or something and vote out Suri by playing your idol correctly. Maybe not on yourself.
Or someone who just won't work with you.
And then play the next idol the next episode on someone that's not you and get another big threat voted out. That's all he can do at this point.
Immunity challenge. Brad is going to win, and he's going to take Troyzan and Sarah on a reward with him. They're going to decide they want to take out Aubrey next. It should be Suri. This is the time. But this is where we're going to get something that did not make the final edit. I call it the Wedding Ring Alliance. Mm-hmm. And this is key to everything. So basically, the gist of it is Sarah wanted to prove her that this is it. This is the 3. And so she gave them a bracelet or something, some sort of article of something she was wearing, and basically made a big deal about it. This means everything to me. I wore this on Kageon. This is a very important piece of jewelry or whatever it was to me. And she's like, I will give this to you. If I vote you out, throw it in the ocean. However, if I'm going to do this, I want something important from both of you too, just to make sure we're all even here. So she got a bracelet from Troyzan. That was important to him. It might have been from his brother or something like that. I don't know. But most importantly, she got Brad's wedding ring.
Wow.
Yeah. So the Wedding Ring Alliance. So these 3 are... Sarah may have turned on Brad and Troyzan because she honestly didn't give a crap about that bracelet. She just played it up. Brad and Troyzan are not turning on Sarah now. Brad's not going to give up his wedding ring. So yeah, this doesn't make the edit. My guess is because production's like, we don't want this to make the edit. We don't want people to do this. This makes it too straightforward. So we're not going to put it in the show. No one's going to know about this, and now we know about it. But that's my guess of why that isn't shown. But they're going to the end together. I mean, Sarah could turn on them, but Brad and Troy's end are not turning on Sarah now.
Yeah, if they put this in the show, the vote at Final Four, and honestly, the vote at Final Five are not entertaining at all. We're gonna yada yada through the first half of the finale.
And so we yada yada to Final Three now, because we have the Wedding Ring Alliance, and spoilers, it holds.
Yep. This is the Final Three, and this is why. Mostly. Brad is going to tell Ty, hey, you need to play an idol tonight, buddy, and you're going to give me the second one, because I don't want any funny business coming from you. So you're going to give me that second idol, and you're going to do what I tell you. And Ty does not like how Brad is talking to him, and that is perfectly fair. Brad's being a jerk. Brad needs a Snickers.
Borderline bully.
Yeah, I would say this
not
is
even borderline.
This is bullying.
This is bullying.
This turns into some bullying. And for everything I've heard, Brad is a lovely person in real life. I'm guessing this is just the game getting to him. And it seems like Brad and Ty are totally good after the show.
And this is also the behavior of someone who has a Final Three locked down, and the only thing that could mess it up is somebody with two idols who doesn't particularly like you. I'm not saying like not personally, but like in the game, Ty and Brad are at odds. So, like, he's just trying to make sure that these idols don't hurt him or the Final Three that has been made so far.
Yeah.
No excuse. Don't be a bully, but...
What Brad wants to do is not give the idol back after tonight, keep Ty's second idol, and vote him out at 5. That would be a DICK move.
It wouldn't be nice, and I think that would almost certainly lose Brad the game. I don't know that could be considered to be... like everything is fair play, but like that's low.
Yeah.
Like why?
You're gonna make an enemy on the jury.
Yeah.
Everything is always fair game. It's just there's consequences to those actions.
Yeah, it's not cheating. It's just like no, I don't think the jury would respect that. If I was a jury member, I don't think I would.
Like, dude, that's kind of nasty. It would really depend on who the other two were. But yeah, I don't know. I'd vote for Brad after that one. Ty's going to show the idols to Brad and Troy's end, but he's not going to hand one over. But the game is also getting to Ty. He has a breakdown. He's crying. Aubrey's going to come over and comfort him. And eventually, they and Suri agree to, like, we're going to put all of our beef aside. We're done if we don't work together here. We are going to be 6-5-4, which is what's going to happen, if we don't come together and work together here. They're right.
Correct.
So we're going to go to Tribal Council. Ty is going to play both idols. He's going to play one on himself, one on Aubrey. Sarah is going to play her legacy advantage, so she's safe.
Because this is the only time that she's able to play it.
Yep. Troy Zane wants to get on the game here, and he's going to play his idol as well. So we'll break it all down here in a second, but just Brad has immunity. Everyone else has immunity. Cerie's the only person who can go home. She's going to go home by default. 0 votes against her. But let's back it up here. The votes themselves, the players are not showing the votes. We get to see them when we hear Cerie's final words. The vote breakdown is 3 votes for Sarah, 2 votes for Ty, 1 vote for Aubrey. So I wonder if Sarah told Brad and Troyzan about the legacy advantage here, and that's why they split. She's like, I'm going to play this on me. All votes against me will be blocked, and we can split between Ty and Aubrey based on if there's idols. So that would be my guess. I don't know that for sure. But let's break this down on who's playing what and when. Obviously, Sarah should play a legacy advantage. Only time she can do it. And she has the most votes. So this saves her. Boom, Sarah's at the table. Next up, we have Ty. Ty's going home now. So he plays out. I know that's not how it happens in order, but I'm breaking this through logically. Ty plays his idol, saves himself. That leaves 1 vote left in the game for Aubrey. So the question I have for you guys is, should Ty play this idol on Aubrey?
I'm going to say yeah, because you want to keep around someone who's willing to work with you, and Aubrey has not had a single foothold in this game with anybody at any point. I'm sure that Ty can work with Cirie, but you have to bring someone you have a chance of beating. And I don't know that in this instance it makes sense for Ty to save this idol for himself again next time. Not if Cirie's still in the game, not if Sarah's still in the game, not if Brad is still in the game. You need to make a stand here. So I think playing it for Aubrey was the best move, and I think he was closest with Aubrey at this point in the game. So even from that standpoint, I think this was the right move too.
Yeah, and you have to think about, if Ty is thinking how this is all going to, play out. Let's say he's playing these idols because he thinks he's at risk or Aubrey's at risk of going home. Okay, well, that means that you don't think that Sarah is going to have enough votes to actually go home, whether it's because the votes aren't going the way that you think it is, or she plays an idol or whatever it might be. So that leaves two people. That leaves Troyzan and Suri. If you play your idol on yourself and on Aubrey, and those are the two people, because does he know? I don't think he knows about Troyzan's idol.
No one knows about it.
That's the one big surprise here that kind of can throw everything around. But if Ty is presented with the situation, most people should see that scenario and say, cool, it's most likely that Suri is going to be the one to go home here because it probably should be her instead of Troyzan. So then let's advance forward in the game. Suri's out. He still has a chance maybe to beat Troyzan, maybe to beat Aubrey. I think that whether or not he knows it, I think that this is the right move for Ty to play both idols. Because then you can go forward in this game. Yeah, you don't have Suri to work with anymore, but you have Troyzan and Aubrey who you need to go forward with, and 3 is more than 2. So, that can be your final 3, and you just hope for the best. And hope that the one big idol play is enough to win you the game.
I agree. I have the same thoughts as you guys. Okay, we're down to 2 people then. Troyzan and Suri. Troyzan, should he play his idol? No votes are against him, so let's say he doesn't. So that would mean it's a tie. We can't really do a rock draw, so they probably would do a revote, I'm guessing. It's weird with the game changes rules, but I'm guessing since neither of them got votes, let's just say we do a revote. 3-3 probably, or 2-2 because Suri and Troyzan wouldn't vote, so it'd probably be 2-2 again. Does anyone flip on the other? Unclear. So I'm guessing what might happen is it might come down to fire making, which is how Suri got voted out in Panama. Which would be kind of funny. So Troyzan playing his idol, he just guarantees he doesn't have to go to fire. Probably smart.
Yeah, and I think Troyzan also knows I've got this pretty rock solid alliance for the final 5 already figured out. And even so, let's say that Ty wins immunity. He's not going to vote me out. It's going to be Sarah or Brad if for some reason he ends up with any power. So I think Troyzan makes the right call here. Just certainty, just take it out of the equation. You're saving your idol for a rainy day. This is why we tell you to keep these things secret.
Yep.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe. So that when 4 other people have immunity and there's only 2 people left, you can say, Jeff, I'm done.
I'll take 1 immunity, please.
I'll take 1 immunity.
So yeah, I think everyone, it logically makes sense to me. It sucks for Suri. She goes home with 0 votes against her by default and pissed the entire Survivor community off to no end.
It's hard to watch.
And maybe we just shouldn't have 4 idols active when there's only 6 people in the game.
Yeah.
And I know the legacy advantage isn't an idol, but it's immunity. It works the exact same way. We don't need that.
Yeah. This, no one wants this.
This is why I said this is a must-watch season for anybody who's working in Survivor production. The way that Malcolm goes home and the way Suri goes home, 2 Survivor legends, it was their fault. They need to own up to that and at least their hand in it. I know you're trying to craft a good game filled with big moves and crazy drama. They succeed, but when that dust settles, you're just kind of left with, Suri went home with 0 votes.
That sucks.
And she didn't quit. She went home with no votes against her and didn't quit.
That sucks.
Or get medically evacuated. It sucks.
And for other people, watching this, Jeff has said on the On Fire podcast that that this is something that can still happen today, the way that they design it. They, run the scenarios and math and everything like that. And it is entirely possible for scenarios to pop up to where there are no votes cast at Tribal. So, think about that, because I would not be surprised if maybe not this exact scenario, but something where people are tied up and, it's just more of a default vote of someone ends up going home at some point in the future.
Yeah, this sucks. Let's dial it back a little bit, Survivor. Josh, who's your best player?
I had Aubrey here. I think there's an argument for Ty as well, but I'm going to go with Aubrey over Ty just because she made Ty feel good enough to play an idol on her. Yeah, it was the right decision for Ty to play both of them. But if, she maybe doesn't comfort him as much or make him think that he has a better option with her instead of with Brad, who's really bullying, maybe he doesn't give Aubrey the idol and then Aubrey goes home with 1 vote. So I'm going to give it to Aubrey.
I agree completely.
Yeah, I've got Aubrey.
Worst player, I actually have Ty. He admits to throwing out Sarah's name. which is bad. He tells Brad about his idols. Bad. Yes, he does the right move with those idols, but he made himself public enemy number one, and he did not have to be.
You know what, Ryan? I'm going to change my answer to Ty, and it's because the only reason is because he copped to like trying to get Sarah voted out when he could have let that fester and Suri be the target and cause a little chaos and retain his idols for bigger moves down the line. Initially, I had said Brad for being a jackwagon.
None of that is good by Ty. I completely admit that, but I think this is about the biggest move that you could make with his idols in this like position, just with this amount of people left in the game, to be able to swing the game in a specific area. So I'm going to go another direction and go with Brad here. Even if he won immunity, you got to get votes in the end, man. Getting to the end is one thing, and having a for sure final three is one thing, but you need people to give you those votes to actually win.
Mm-hmm. Suri's going to be on season 50. Derek, do you want it?
You know, Suri is one of those players where I don't think I'm ever tired of seeing her play. I think I said that at our cast assessment. So yes, especially if this is how you went home the last time you played.
It's interesting because I kind of grouped Ozzy and Suri in the same kind of area when we were going through our cast assessment for season 50. And I feel like my opinion on Suri was completely different than, you know, how Ozzy might have progressed rewatching this season, where I was like, I don't really care if Ozzy's back. Sure, we'll see. Suri didn't make my cast list for season 50, but I'm a lot more excited after watching this season to see her on season 50. I was very meh on her before, but now I'm like, yeah, like I just want to see how she can do. I don't think she has a chance to win, but going into Game Changers, I didn't think she had a chance to win. So let's do it. Why not?
Yeah, Suri is someone I think the entire Survivor community wrote off for Game Changers. She was dealt the worst hand coming into it and got 6th, and the only one out because BS. Suri is someone who can go on every season, as far as I'm concerned. Along with Abby Maria, and who's the other one I said? Penner or something like that?
Penner, Venus Vafa.
Tony.
Yeah,
for sure, Suri.
Yeah, Ryan's got a whole cast of people who could be cast on every season now.
I got this cast of 20, and we'll just run this cast of 20 every time.
Yeah, we'll call it Fiji Shore.
Every time until someone passes away, and then, you know, another person gets promoted up.
Yep, exactly.
And we'll call it Ghost Island.
Ghost Island 2. All right, final 5. Brad is going to win immunity. So he, Sarah, and Troyzan decide they want to take Aubrey out, and we can just be done here, basically.
There really isn't anything else to say, especially because we know about the wedding ring deal. Yeah.
The show's going to make it seem like other things could happen. It was never happening, probably. Aubrey and Ty's pitch is to Sarah, like, hey, let's take out Troyzan and free up that spot. Well, Sarah's already in the end, basically. And Ty shouldn't be pitching Troyzan to go out anyway. Aubrey, Ty, and Troyzan need to go to the end together. They should be pitching to Troyzan and Brad. We need to take out Sarah. That's what they should be pitching. Sarah should be the target. But eventually, Sarah and Ty even talk. And Ty's like, you know what? We should take out Aubrey. No, Ty. Why?
You just saved Aubrey. Like, everything that I literally just said about why it was a good move is just being chucked out the window now.
Yep. And then Brad's going to keep being a jackwagon to Ty. And it's like, you have to do what I tell you or else. And it's not great. And Ty's like, he's such a jerk. I kind of want to vote out Troyzan now because of it.
Oh, I mean, all so bad, Ty.
All bad. But Tribal Council is going to be 4 votes for Aubrey, 1 vote for Troyzan. Wrong move. This should have been Sarah. Brad may lose his wedding ring. But honestly, he doesn't even have to be in on it. He could be at home. You know, he could be fine. But Troyzan, Aubrey, and Ty, they can come together and vote out Sarah.
So yeah. I just want to get to my best player, honestly, because I mean, it very clearly should have been Sarah. Yeah, Josh, go ahead.
Josh, best player. Who do you got?
Oh, it's me.
Yeah, Derek got to go first on if Suri should play again.
Yes, yeah. So now you're up.
Sure, why not? Well, yeah. So no, the right person did not go home since we skipped over that. But and a big part of it was because of Brad's ego. Brad thinks all he has to do is get to the end and he wins this game because he's played a masterclass game with all these immunity wins, and like, how can you not vote Brad? It's just so obvious. So he's not even considering the fact that Troyzan or Sarah could beat him in the end. He's right about Troyzan, and that's perfectly fine. Good read. But he is not even considering Sarah here. Is that enough to make Sarah the best player of the episode? I guess, because I don't have a good, alternative to Sarah. Brad, congrats on winning immunity. Maybe you saved yourself. I don't think so. But it's more so just like, what are you doing, man? You need to be able to put your ego aside and look to see who your competition is going to be at the final 3.
Yeah, not good on Brad. My best is Sarah. She took out Aubrey, which is fine for her. She wasn't the target. How? I don't know.
Yeah, it's Sarah because the season is over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For worst player, I have Ty. Shouldn't have turned on Aubrey. Should have gone for Sarah.
I gave it to Troyzan because he has more agency in this situation, and he should be linking up with Ty and Aubrey, 2 people that I think he can beat, and take out Sarah, and then turn on Brad. If Sarah has Brad's wedding ring, then, Sarah can't throw Brad's wedding ring, and if Troyzan lies, she might do that, but that'd be evil.
I really wish I could give out 2. They gave it to both Troyzan and Ty. I gave it to Troyzan though. I don't know. I don't really have a good reason of why him over Ty. They're just both bad.
They're both bad. That's fair. Aubrey will play again. Derek, do you want to see Aubrey come back?
I mean, as of right now, I'm fine with her playing again in the right circumstance. I'm fine with Aubrey coming back, even if she was kind of a nothing here. She did play a different game, but I feel like she learned the wrong lesson. It felt like she leaned more into, I'm not going to make as many strategic moves, but didn't lean more into like being a social powerhouse that everybody loves. And maybe it just sucks that you ended up on a season with Suri where everyone is going to love her the most. So like in that regard, I'm fine with Aubrey coming back in the right situation right now.
I don't know. I'm fine without her. We've had 2 deep runs by her, but both have been kind of, I don't want to say duds, but like they just kind of fizzle out at the end. And, it can be a good ride, but I'd rather, if she was booted out at 6 or 7 both times, it's like, oh man, like, she was doing so good. And then just, was dealt a bad hand and was voted out, whatever it might be. But I don't really get that with Aubrey. So I think that we've seen everything that we have from her at this point.
Yeah, with Aubrey's interesting. So as far as I know, we came into the season because remember the last season these people saw was wrong, and there's a big kerfuffle about whether Aubrey or Michelle should have won. So Aubrey had a big target on her back coming in. People were kind of scared of her. Just because of recency bias. So I think that they just didn't let her get a foothold. She never had the opportunity to do anything because everyone else was like, no, we can't let her. Well, and eventually she got kind of defanged and we just kind of moved along and she was just kind of there. I think if some time goes by, people kind of forget about that, and the last thing they remember is she wasn't very great on Game Changers. I think Aubrey could do well in a third play. That was my thought process going in. We'll see how that plays out for her in her future season.
We'll have to start a dialogue about that.
Which one?
Yep. So I'm okay with Aubrey coming back as long as we give it a little bit of space, a couple of seasons at the very least, which is what we do get. So when it was announced she's coming back, I was fine with it.
We have to keep in mind because when we did our season 50 cast assessments, opinions, at least my opinion, had changed a little bit at that point.
Yes.
So I'm not being a hypocrite, folks.
Yeah, this is how we feel after Game Changers. Final 4, Brad is going to win the final immunity challenge and tie the all-time record with 5 wins. Very impressive. He wants to take out Ty for revenge, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
And he doesn't care how he does it. Actually, no, he does care about how he does it. I shouldn't say that, because he wants to make it as brutal as possible for revenge.
Yep. He wants to give Ty false hope and then take him out. It's just kind of like, dude, come on. Eat more than one Snickers.
Double king size.
And Brad is going to tell us he thought people like Ty more than Sarah. People are going to feel betrayed by Sarah, and Ty is just more likable. And he very clearly has the wrong read on the situation, where Ty's game is so erratic that people wouldn't respect it as much. Sarah's was very strategic. I'll say it nicely.
It was very intentional, we'll say.
Yes. Ty's going to pitch to Sarah, hey, maybe we should force fire making one of us versus Troyzan.
On paper, this is the right move.
Yep. But we know about the Wedding Ring Alliance, so I don't think Sarah was worried. At Tribal Council, it's 3 votes for Ty, 1 for Troyzan. This should have been Sarah. Brad loses the game here. I think Brad beats Troyzan and Ty. Well, actually, we're going to find out at... Who knows if this is 100% true, but we're going to find out at the reunion show that Brad would have won, which we'll get more to in a second once we get there. So this is... If that is true, if we trust the jury and Jeff's poll... this is a game-losing decision for Brad, and this is why he gets mentioned in Ghost Island when they get the pick. Which final tribal council voting urn are we going to use? And Brad's was an option because he made the wrong decision at the final four.
Yeah, you can buy a lot of wedding rings with $1 million. Now, I know he was a professional athlete. Money was not a big concern, so it is about the sentimental aspect of the ring. But basically what I'm getting at is, Brad, why did you do this one for Monica? Why did you do this for Monica? Monica did things for Monica. You need to do this for Brad. Vote out Sarah. She whips your wedding ring into the beautiful ocean waters of Fiji, like the heart of the ocean, and you get to be crowned the sole survivor. Very likely. Non-canon, obviously, but like very likely.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I would say probably.
Probably.
And also,
Bad.
Sarah probably isn't going to throw your ring in the ocean.
From what I've heard about Sarah, she's probably going to throw your ring in the ocean.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
Yeah, Sarah. So let's talk. This is a good segue into Sarah. Just some interesting facts about her. I know she's on the challenge, and everyone hates her on the challenge. Like, she's despised by everyone who's watched the challenge. So I don't know what to make about that. But the other thing about Sarah is she, at this point, I need to make that clear. I don't know if it's still true. She was a big MAGA person. And apparently she got 2 Ponderosa after the Final Tribal Council and immediately put on a MAGA hat. And there was some voting regrets after that one. So she hit it. Good for her, I guess. I don't know if she still is, though. Apparently, somebody, when she was on Winners at War, I know another one of the players had like a really in-depth conversation with her about it and believed they made some progress. So, who knows? I don't know. But that is some more interesting information about Sarah. It doesn't make me like her anymore, but I think she might have thrown the ring into the ocean.
I think she's very much, you won $1 million, I'm hucking your ring into the ocean. But, Sarah Lucina, big fan of the podcast, let us know, would you have hucked Brad's wedding ring into the ocean? I'm curious.
And if you're still MAGA, you better not be a big fan of this podcast. I don't want you.
I knew Ryan was going to say that.
You're a great player. You may be scum. I don't know. Josh, who was your best player?
I mean, she didn't really do anything, but I'm going to go with Sarah. Like, we kind of yada through most of this, but, she did apparently enough to make it seem like she was, not a threat to Brad and have him turn on her.
I also had Sarah. Wasn't even a target. Should have been.
Yeah, it was Sarah again. On paper, probably should have voted for Troyzan, but clearly what they had was rock solid.
Worst player, I have Brad. He voted out Ty over Sarah. He loses the game.
And being mean-spirited about it, I've got Brad as well. Ty's going to go to the jury, and he's going to be able to sour them even further. So even though he has no chance at this point, or at least a very small chance, I think it's going to evaporate by the time Ty gets there and can really set the mood.
Yeah, it's Brad. Got to check your ego.
Yep. All right, final tribal council time. It's a new format. We're done with just like the jury gives up and gives a speech or asks one question to one finalist and ignores the other two. It is now a discussion. It's going to be tweaked some more, but we're going to start out with this. It's 3 segments. And it's real clunky. It doesn't
real
quite,
clunky.
Jeff tries to describe it's outwit, outplay, outlast, and it's like some of this doesn't belong here. It belongs there. What are you talking about, Jeff? So I'm glad I don't know when we get rid of like the segments and we just like have a discussion. Just talk. Go for it. Talk about everything you want to talk about. Yeah, it's just kind of weird and clunky. I love that we changed this. I'm super on board with this. I don't really like the term bitter jurors, but I could see this as kind of a way to prevent someone from getting on their high horse and being just a jerk and not letting somebody talk. It's a way to avoid that, especially after Worlds Apart where nobody got to say anything. So I like that we move on to this. Some people say, well, we won't get any great Sue Hawk TV moments anymore. I get that, but I'd rather have like a discussion and figure out who really should win. So I am pro this. We could definitely tweak and get rid of these segments, which we will, but I like this move a lot actually from production.
Well, and I think that you can still have those moments. If someone feels passionate enough to say something, they have the complete ability to speak up, much like someone can speak up and have a stump speech. We had, as I'm sure you'll mention, Zeke is going to be a champion for Sarah, and then Oz is going to be a champion for Brad, which that's another conversation. But you could have the exact opposite, where if someone feels really betrayed, they can, let it all air out if they really feel like it. Nothing is stopping them from still doing that. So I think you have, the benefit of it being a little bit more open forum, while also still having, that possibility.
I just like the change. I'm in agreement with both of you. Clunky, but it's time.
Yeah, we're moving in the right direction. So yeah, like in the past, it's been pretty easy where you just like, oh, we'll talk about this question, and this is a little more all over the place. So just general notes on this final tribal council. Sarah it said she's very effective at being emotionally manipulative. Maybe a little too good. Andrea, Ozzy, and Debbie all seem pretty hurt and that she went too far. And everyone is questioning their relationship with her. Ty at one point goes like, I'm questioning what was real. And everybody else is laughing like, welcome to the club. We've all been there, dude. But she is going to say like, compare this to her ability to compartmentalize this and just be so separate from the game to her emotional relationships. It's because she's been an undercover cop before, which when you do that, your life is potentially on the line and you have to play that character. And I thought that was a really good answer from her. It just like, it recontextualizes what she did. And it's like, okay, so she does this in real life. That this makes sense. So I love that answer.
Yeah, it's a mattress landing, right? Like, how can you compartmentalize? Well, the truth of the matter is some people are sociopaths. And I also think that you need to have some sociopathic tendencies to be a successful undercover police officer, or at least have an ability to tap into that part. But the fact that it's like, oh, hey, I have to do this for my job. Sorry that you guys aren't exposed to undercover cops every day. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, I can see that. So I think it's a convenient excuse, but she's actually just really good at this. She's an undercover cop because she can do this. She's not good at this because she's an undercover cop. Causality, correlation, I'm not sure.
Yeah, if I was on the jury, I might have wanted a little bit more specific of an answer, because it's like you said, I think that's a little more just like a convenient correlation. And, it's like, okay, well, that still doesn't make me feel better that what we had was real. Were you just compartmentalizing and just, using this for your game to have this conversation in this relationship? Or like, did you actually care? And how do I know that? And I don't know the answer.
Yep.
But I did not get that from her answer.
The one question I have is, how often are you being an undercover cop to bust a prostitution ring in Marion, Iowa?
So it's some of those rural towns.
Like, I buy the drug thing. Like, I'm sure meth, probably. But I was just like, how many prostitutes are running around Marion, Iowa? I don't know.
And the other thing is, when you go undercover, they don't put you undercover in the precinct that you are
I
at.
suppose.
Like,
I suppose.
They'll send you to New York City or something. I'm not saying like New York, but like it could be Des
Iowa.
Moines. Yeah, the crime ring that is Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah,
any Des Moines listeners?
I know Marion is very close to Cedar Rapids, so maybe there's some go down at Cedar Rapids. I don't know.
Denise something.
Yeah, what's Denise up to? For Brad, the jurors going to say Sierra was seen as the brains of their alliance. What did Brad do? That was his move. And he's going to bring up the Malcolm boot thanks to his alliance to JT. We've said in the past that don't bring up the pre-merge. No one cares. I think this is a kind of a rare exception to the rule for a couple of reasons. One, that twist was insanity. Two, he took out Malcolm. So I don't mind that Brad brought this one up, but I would have liked to see him bring up something in the post-merge as well. So
yeah, the third point is a lot of them were there for that. The reason that pre-merge moves don't matter a ton in the post-merge is like, well, how many people on the jury actually saw that? No, this was almost everybody.
Yeah.
This was a huge group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Brad is going to be criticized for not making social connections with people outside of his lines, which we mentioned earlier. Kind of nasty to Ty. He's going to say being mean to Ty was a strategic move to make him feel uncomfortable to get him to play an idol. And Haley's like, are you saying being condescending was a strategic move?
And also, why did you do it at Final Four then?
Yeah, why are you a jerk at Final Four?
Why'd you do it after he played both of his idols, Brad? It doesn't
let up.
The logic doesn't follow all the way through.
Like, you might be able to BS your way through at 6 with that one, but at 5, no.
Yeah, there's an opportunity to finesse your way through this, but I think just for the same reason why Brad isn't able to make that connection of how he's talking to people with it, or why it's not going to be helpful to his game, he's also not going to be able to explain it in this moment.
Troy Zant's finally asked a question.
He's like, oh, hey. I'm here.
And he's asked about his game, but he's basically seen as a coattail rider who didn't do much. He claims he played the middle to make subtler moves. Like what? Tarzan, I'd like some examples, please. We're not really going to get it. I don't think anyone cares.
The one big missed opportunity for Troyzan, and it's not going to matter at all. But once we get to like the outplay and Sarah's talking about advantages and, idols end up coming up and whatnot, he really should have talked about his idol more and how he got it. And like there would have been at least a little bit of a light bulb moment there for some people. Not enough to give him, a vote, but at least maybe a little bit more respect, or maybe some more digging questions to learn a little bit about your game. Like, oh wow, Troyzan, I didn't know that happened. So there was something here. He didn't do a great job.
Yeah, and it could have been cut. We don't know, but yeah, Troyzan that's his question. That's the one he gets. Sarah is gonna, if she hadn't won the game already, she's gonna win here. Because she's gonna talk about her advantage stuff. She talks about how she had to finagle voting out Sierra while getting the legacy advantage from her, which ended up saving her game at Final 6. Just Talks reveals that the vote steal she got right under Michaela's nose, and then used it to eliminate her. Which is pretty badass. And she was in on every vote. So, pretty dang good answer right there. The third segment that Jeff is the Outlast segment. This is your last chance to convince the jury. This is just closing statements with extra step. Yeah. Just one extra step. This is just closing statements, which is fine. Just call it that. Brad's like, I relied on myself. Sarah struck first. Troyzan thanks everyone for playing.
Well, and I wanna give more than that. So you want to talk about another one of my nominations for most memorable moments? I so often think about Troyzan just saying, guys, I think I know where the votes are going today. I just want to say I had a blast. Thank you for helping my dream come true. I think about that a lot. And weirdly enough, even though we have a moment earlier in this season that is probably going to win that particular thing, I think about that Troyzan concession a lot because I'm like, you know what? Say what you want about his game. I think he's a genuinely good dude who was so happy to be out there for the adventure. And if you see his audition tape, he was like a cinematographer and he had like the super expensive camera and he's running through the jungle like Tarzan, just like, it seems like this was his dream. And I believe every word that he said. So kudos to Troyzan. This isn't the winning game that you think it is, or that you hoped it was, but I'm glad that he genuinely had a good time.
He could have won if he was on Africa with this game.
Yes.
But yeah. Concession for Troyzan. It's nice. Everyone's, Troyzan seems like a really nice guy. But Sarah is going to win with 7 votes to 3 to zip. Ozzy, Debbie, and Sierra are all going to vote for Brad. Troyzan gets nothing. So guys, who would we have voted for?
Yeah, it's gonna be Sarah on this one. I think there's a world where Brad can do it, but it'd have to be closer to the Tom Westman style of doing it or the Terry Dietz style of doing it. He wasn't the honor integrity guy that he needed to be truly. Joe, season 48, is another very close example here where, Kyle was kind of the Sarah of that season, Yeah, I think Sarah gets my vote here.
Yeah, it's not even close. I will say the one easy part about it is we don't get to feel whether or not we felt super close to Sarah and then get cut by her, that's the deciding factor is, do you feel burned enough to the point to where you just don't want this person to win Survivor anymore? And that's possible. That's how people can lose the game. They're not able to finesse that well enough. So easy from the outside to say Sarah. From the inside, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and guess that I probably wouldn't vibe a whole lot with Brad. So, yeah.
I feel like I could vibe with Brad pretty well. I don't know.
Okay, vibe with Brad, sure, but like be able to see the way that he acts and also like be able to identify that. So maybe vibe wasn't the right word, but more so just like see his full game and make that decision.
Sarah's got one pretty good thing happening is Brad also has a problematic social game, so that kind of evens out. Troyzan might actually have the best social game of the 3. It's just he didn't do anything with it. But Sarah's clearly got the best strategic game. Brad's got the best physical game. So, it's a little more even than you might suspect, especially since we don't know how we would feel with Sarah's betrayal if we're out there. But I am going to say Sarah just because I think even if we are hurt by Sarah, I think she still played the best game all around. So I think I'd vote for her. Do we want to see Sarah play again? We will see her on Winners at War. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, since she's a winner, sure. Really interested in her arc from season 1 to season 2 and how much her game changed. The big question will be like, okay, now you're exposed. So now what? And that's going to be really interesting because I think where she went out her first time around made this win possible. So interesting to see what happens next.
As a player, yes, because obviously she's a winner. I generally always say, like, bring back the winners. There's the exception for when I don't want winners back is if they suck as people to an extent. And if I didn't know she was MAGA until a couple years later, if I knew that, I would have said no. I'm not interested. So it would have depended on if I knew that or not.
I'm going to say I do want Sarah back. I always want to see development from game 1 to game 2 or season 1 to season 2. She has that. What's interesting is I think she played with the same strategy, which is I want to play the middle. I want to rock back and forth. I want to pit these sides against one another, make it to the end. The difference is this time when she ran into trouble with someone like she ran into Chaos Cass in Kagiyan, she had the social game very well laid out and was like, don't worry, I will cut you. I will lie to your face and I will cut you later, rather than being way too honest and forthright with Cass. So she learned that and took the same strategy out there and was incredibly, perhaps scary, effective. Bring her back.
Reunion show. So we're going to learn if Brad had voted out Sarah and Ty made it to the end instead, allegedly it would have been a 5-5 tie between Brad and Ty. And so Jeff is going to take this opportunity to explain the tiebreaker rule. This is the first time we ever hear this. And so if it's a 5-5 tie, the third person, in this case Troyzan, would become the final juror, and then he would make the final decision. Troyzan would have been the deciding vote. He obviously would have voted for Brad. Brad wins. If we take this as canon, which we can't, but let's just go with it.
The closest thing that we have.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the most information we have. Big old whoopsie from Brad.
Whoopsie.
I just love his reaction. Just like, we don't need to play this game. I don't want to play this game.
Jeff, I don't like this game.
Just like, but I like it, so we're gonna do it.
It's fun. Look at the fun we're having.
And you could tell Jeff was so annoyed that everyone was trying to derail this conversation. And I told Derek, like, this is the moment where Jeff decided we're done with reunion shows. We're moving on to after party shows instead.
Yep. I'm done. I can't deal with these people anymore.
This took him another 3 years.
Yep.
Good on Brad for pushing back on production on live television.
I don't want
to do this.
All right, let's wrap this bad boy up.
Yep.
Best player of the season. As a reminder, we can only include the people who make the merge, so it's Haley onward. It's Sarah.
There are two options. It's Sarah or it's Suri. And I'm going to say the devil's in the details, where Suri missed the detail on the advantage she tried to steal from Sarah. Sarah won in the trenches, in the details in the season. It's going to be Sarah.
God, it's hard. I really want to give it to Suri, but she's just a little too far away from the end to give it to her. Going out at 6, would she have been able to even make it to the end? I have a really hard time seeing her make it to the end. So I'll give it to Sarah as well.
Worst player, Derek, who you got?
Michaela. I don't think a lot of this was actually her fault, because I think she was already malnourished, out of energy, and didn't have the strength really to go on in mind or body or spirit. I think if she came back on a season now, she would be more successful and her game would be different. But I think she lost this one pretty early on in the merge with the way everyone perceived her. And even though she made it a little bit further, her lack of attention to detail, the way she pouted, the way she didn't help around camp, the way she didn't have many options, it felt like she made it as far as she did as a GOAT.
I really want to give it to Debbie, but I think it has to go to Michaela. I really want to give it to Debbie, though. But Michaela has just a couple more downsides, and, maybe it was the edit, but we didn't really see her try to make moves to improve her spot in the game and position herself with people who she could beat. Debbie ultimately got blindsided, and, she didn't play a good game, and it was her fault, I think. Or at least a chunk of it was her fault of why she went home. But to give her the worst of this season, I think would be probably a step too far. So I'll give it to Michaela.
I can't fight you guys on Michaela. I can't do it. I decided to give mine to Ty just because I thought he had a little more impact in a bad way. Michaela was just kind of like, not relevant too much. And Ty was actively bad nonstop. He made a bunch of bad moves. He wasn't like a complete zero. Like I said, he's great with the idols, but just about everything else is this is not the game for him. Ty is too nice for Survivor, so because he's too nice, he's my worst player of the season.
The idol finding is my tiebreaker.
I can accept that.
I did consider Ty surprise final 2. I think Ty would beat Michaela though.
I think you're right. I do think you're right. Jeff Watch, anything of note?
The only thing from note on Jeff is how angry he was at the reunion show and how out of control this live show got and how some things were said that shouldn't have been said. And, it was just, that was my Jeff Watch.
Yeah, we had an Aussie political rant just randomly throw in there. It's like, what are we doing?
I don't know. Weather report.
Absolutely nothing. We're in Fiji.
Okay. Last thing we gotta talk about before we get to the season rankings is our most memorable moment of the season. We all know what it was in the pre-merge, blah, 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 the Zeke stuff. Post-merge. Josh, you are our memorability consultant. What is the most memorable moment of the post-merge, and does it beat the pre-merge?
I have 2 big ones. I have the sit-out bench advantage, just because it's the first time that ends up happening. And then I don't even think we ever actually called it this, but I know it's been called it in the past, but advantage get-in.
Yep, that's when Suri gets taken out.
I know Derek also had mentioned Troyzan at the end, so good on that honorable mention too. But at least for the post-merge, I'm going to give it to advantage get-in. I don't think it's close.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it has to be advantage get-in for the post-merge.
Now, very quickly, what wins as most memorable moment of the season? Advantage Geddon or Zeke's Tribal Council?
I think it's advantage Geddon.
Oh.
Like, I really do. And I'm not just trying to, have this be buried in, our podcast so that we don't have to ever talk about it again. But this is just such a monumental thing when it comes to, like, yes, there's a social impact when it comes to Zeke. But for advantage Geddon, this is going to come up. It's not going to come up again, I guess, in seasons yet, but it definitely could come up at some point with how many advantages have been put in the game in the new era and, how that impacts people. And it's Suri. Like, she went home without a vote, which is just completely ridiculous. So I think it has to be advantage Geddon.
I respect it. It's advantage Geddon.
I would have gone the other way because the season was ruined for me. Therefore,
I understand.
Very memorable.
No, I get it, but I like everything Josh said, and honestly, I can agree with it from that angle too. We've had flashbacks to advantage Geddon on the show since season 34, so I accept this.
We try not to flashback to the other one, so
yeah. Thank the Lord. All right, last thing we got to do is our season rankings. Where does Game Changers fall in our ranking of 34 seasons up to this point? I'll go first. I got mine ready. So starting from the top, season 33, Millennials vs. Gen X, Cagayan, Cambodia, Philippines, Blood vs. Water, Palau, Pearl Islands, Koh Rong, Tocantins, Vanuatu, Micronesia, China, Borneo, San Juan del Sur, South Pacific, the Amazon, Fiji, Guatemala, Panama, Samoa, Africa, the Australian Opic, Gabon, Marquesas, Nicaragua, Heroes vs. Villains, Caramoan, Worlds Apart, Cook Islands, down at the final 5, Game Changers, All Stars, Thailand, One World, Redemption Island. Bottom 5.
All right.
30th place.
All right, jumping right into mine. From the top, Cagayan, followed by Millennials vs. Gen X, Micronesia, Koh Rong, Cambodia, China, Palau, Heroes vs. Villains, Blood vs. Water, Philippines, Tocantins, Pearl Island, South Pacific, Amazon, Vanuatu, Guatemala, Australia, Nicaragua, Fiji, Exile Island, Borneo, San Juan del Sur, Gabon, Africa, Cook Islands, and coming in at 26th, I have Survivor 34, Game Changers, followed by Worlds Apart, One World, Caramoan, Samoa, All-Stars, Marquesas, Redemption Island, and Thailand.
Marquesas is too low.
I wonder on the rewatch, I wonder.
Yeah, you can always rewatch them all again.
I could.
I feel bad for some of the early seasons. I feel like they kind of get buried sometimes, but it might just be nostalgia, and they might not actually be like, wow, these are so good. So
next time we rewatch all these, what we could do is start at the bottom, our least favorite season, and work our way up, and then it's easier.
Does this deserve to move up or not?
Yep.
I hate it, but okay.
I mean, the good thing is, though, that you start at the worst, and then it only goes up. I mean, ideally, and there won't be much variance.
But honestly, we could skip on to the idols. It ain't moving out of the bottom.
Hey,
spoilers.
You never know. I've never rewatched it. Maybe it's a lot better on the rewatch.
And guess what? I'm never going to rewatch that one.
I told myself I would. All right. Starting from the top. Number one, Cagayan, then China, Millennials versus Gen X, Cambodia, Pearl Islands, Micronesia, Fans versus Favorites, Heroes versus Villains, Blood versus Water, Tocantins, Palau, Amazon, Vanuatu, Philippines, Koh Rong, Borneo, Australia, South Pacific, Guatemala, Fiji, Panama, Africa, Samoa, Cook Islands, Nicaragua, San Juan del Sur, Gabon, Marquesas, Game Changers, followed by Worlds Apart, Fans versus Favorites 2, One World, All Stars, Redemption Island, and Thailand. So it was number 28 for me.
Okay. Pretty low for all of us. Pretty low.
So Derek had it the highest, followed by me, followed by Ryan. But we're all pretty close.
To me, this was like baseline Survivor with a horrible moment, so that bumps it down a tier. So
Throwing a little bit of bad editing, and then that's what we get.
Yep.
All right. That is Survivor Game Changers, everybody. We did it. We're through. So let's talk about what we're doing next. So Derek is in the busiest time of year for him at work. He is dead, and we're lucky he is doing this podcast with us right now.
I'm going to work after this podcast.
Yeah, until 1 in the morning.
Yep.
So what we're going to do is we're not going to do Heroes, Healers, Hustlers before 49 comes out. We're going to save that for after 49. However, we do have time to do one podcast. We're going to have a fun one. And we're going to decide what it is right now. So, Heroes, Healers, Hustlers is the dumbest name in all of Survivor.
And Ryan has been saying this for years.
Well, and also they showed us the trailer for 35, and like I remember watching this live, but they went through it, and I'm just like, what? I still don't get it. I mean, I get it, but why?
I don't get it. I really don't understand.
It felt like it was so close also to just like another like blue collar, white collar, no collar, but like just tweaked slightly.
Just do that one again and throw a 2 after it, man.
So, just like, what did we do? Did they pick a random letter and pick 3 tribes based off that? How do we get Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers? I don't understand. I've never understood it. And one of my favorite things I saw after they announced the name is a post on Reddit. It was like, or the Survivor name. And the response was, you sure?
This is the point where we went too far with the themes. You know, the themes are fun, and we're going to get a couple of other ones in the 30s that do work, I think. Like, It's like, okay, I get that concept. That concept can work for Survivor. This is one where it's like, why?
What?
Why?
So it's so dumb. Millennials versus Gen X is kind of a dumb name too, but it's a great season. So, it doesn't necessarily mean 35 will be a bad season, but the theme is dumb. So let's have a dumb podcast. What this is going to be is we're going to create our own Heroes, Healers, Hustlers seasons. We're each going to be randomly assigned a letter, and we are going to have to come up with 3 tribe names with that letter, and then it's going to be an all-star season. So we're going to pick 6 people, and we're going to fill out each tribe, and they're going to compete against each other. So the next time you hear from us, we'll each have our letters. We're going to do our letters tonight, and we're going to make our own tribes, and then we're going to pitch it. You could vote on which one you'd like to see the most. And then the other thing I want from you guys is when we talk about this, I want your winner pick. I want your winner pick from the 3 Qs season, whatever it ends up being. Whatever letter you get, I want your 18 All-Stars, 6 for each tribe, and I want your winner pick. Who do you legitimately think would win in this matchup? So that's what we're going to do. I've been looking forward to this for a long time because it's so dumb.
This is dumb. Look at the dumb we're having.
So I have a random number generator up, 1 through 26, one for each letter. H is off limits. H is an automatic reroll. So we're not doing H. No H. We've done that. So you're going to randomly assign a letter here. It could be Q, could be X, could be Z. However, I will give you one opportunity to pass. So you could say, I don't want that letter. I want a different letter. But on your second one, you keep it. So it's up to you. You could take like a letter in your first one, but you might get something worse. All right, we'll do this alphabetically because letters. Derek, you're first.
All right, let's random number generate this thing.
Go ahead. 14. KLMN. You got the letter N.
Let's pass.
You don't want it?
It's not that I don't want it. I just kind of like the idea of being forced to do something. Like I'm giving it back to the dice.
I hope you get an X.
17. Is that Q?
That's Q.
Let's go!
Derek has Q. Good luck. Genuinely good luck. Josh, I'll spin for you.
And I did it to myself.
24. You got X.
Yep.
All right, we're going
the
again.
xylophone tribe.
13. M. That's M.
Oh yeah, M.
M. Letter M. Josh, you're stuck with the letter M.
I can work with that.
All right, my turn. A. Okay, I'll stick with A.
His first one's going to be A, like Canadians, and it's just going to be Canadian.
All right, so Derek is Q. Good luck. Josh has M. I have A. That will be the next episode you hear from us, is this dumbass podcast idea that I've had rattling around my brain since we started this thing.
You know, there's a lot of Survivor podcasts out there. I think that we're one of the better ones just because I think that we have really good structure and really good banter and really good insight, you know, teaching people how to play the game. But, you know, people do recaps. People, you know, talk about the biggest moves in Survivor history and, you know, biggest blindside, whatever it might be. I think this is going to be a first.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's done this one before. Maybe they have, but this is going to be super stupid, and I cannot wait. So that'll be the next podcast you hear from us, and it'll be the last one before we get to 49. And then we'll do Heroes, Healers, Hustlers proper in the off season between 49 and 50. So that's where we're at. That is the schedule. I'm looking forward to this immensely, Derek. Especially you. Good luck. You really screwed yourself over.
Fate.
Hilarious.
Fate.
Guys, social media.
Yeah, follow us wherever you can at Castaway Pod. If you want videos, Castaway Consultants on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. And I don't know if we really had a specific call out on Spotify, Derek, did we?
We didn't have anything on Spotify other than just to enjoy Game Changers. Don't be too harsh on it. But as always, you can reach out on Spotify. We read those comments. We respond. So thanks for that. But other than that, we got a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and I wanted to read that. It said, "Such a great podcast. I've been hopping around the rewind episodes. I love the takes, especially when Josh breaks ties or having no notes when deciding for his best and worst player."
Those are some classic Josh moments.
Past Josh is the real antagonist to this podcast.
Those are the earlier rewinds. Thank you for mentioning me, because no one ever mentions me in the reviews.
And the way they talk about how these are real people while discussing the game. That is something we try to do, is separate person from the player. Every once in a while, those worlds intersect. We had that happen this season, and we don't let it slide. But I really do appreciate the feedback, so thank you for that review.
All right, guys. Anything else?
No.
Good.
All right, this has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.